Buddy, let me get the link. All right, it's pinned to the top, so everybody can get on. Hey, Nancy.
Hello, hello, hello. Let me
Is this
go
administrator?
turn off. There we go. Okay. Hi, Grayson. Kimberly,
Hi,
another sheep keeper.
hi, Grayson.
Okay. Here
So,
we
Nancy,
are.
is it showing you as an administrator or not?
I don't know.
Are you in
I
the
don't know.
street? Yeah. There's something weird. I want it because I haven't got a subscription. I can't do it like you did it. Hey, Todd. Hey,
Oh,
Randy.
so present or in, let's see if I can, well, if I can present, let's see. I don't have anything up, but
I don't. You're up in the upper right hand corner. You'd have end stream.
uh, uh, right hand corner. And oh yeah, I have it. It's there. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Let's
that's weird. I
see.
had to invite you though.
Huh.
Oh well.
I know we're learning every week we learn something new, right?
Yeah. Hey, I had a weird thing happen to me yesterday and just now, like an hour ago. I can talk about first.
Where'd you go?
Hey, Todd.
Let's see.
There you go.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. So that's cool.
let's see if I can get it to scroll.
Right.
Eh, all right. I'm trying to get it to you know, scroll across, but read it better. Well, what happened? What happened uh, recently or whatever?
Well, yesterday it was a cloudy with on and off light rain showers, like it would rain for 5 minutes every 2 or 3 hours. And I went out there around, I don't know, it was 4 o'clock. And actually, the sun came out like for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And hive number 14 decided to swarm. And that was a new queen that I had in single management. So
Hey,
I
Vincent.
actually caught them
Hi, Todd.
I was there and I watched them start swarming. The best thing about it, it started raining. So I have a
They went
metal
back
pole
in.
out there and I made some false thunder and they all went right back into the hive. It was like magic. 2 minutes later, all back into the hive. Well,
You
I waited for
tanked.
that rain to end, which only lasted like 3 minutes, but it was enough to get the bees back in.
Yeah.
Um, I cut out 14 queen cells,
Oh gosh. Hi, Lee.
and three of them
14.
3 of them emerged on me, and I made 4 of them emerged on me as I was cutting them out in the process, and made 4 splits. And I put the rest. I made actually no, I made 8 splits. there was 4 frames that had one cell on it, and there was 4 frames that had like each had like three cells on it, 4 cells on it. So I ended up doing 8 split and 9-way split, and then I took the other 11 cells and put them in the incubator.
Jiminy sakes. Now, do you have enough bees to cover all of those frames in those 9 different boxes or ever how many you made?
Well, I took
Like
I
how
took 80%. I took 70% of the bees out of that hive. It was two double. I had 5 boxes on it, so it was still a pretty big hive. And I left them with 2 frames of brood and a frame of food, and that was about it. And I could not find the queen. And it's like I went through everything twice and I couldn't find the queen. So I don't know what happened to the queen. Well, I was starting to cook dinner. I was cooking in our little oven. We have some chicken fillets for my wife and
yeah.
I, and I had 9 minutes. And I said, I'm going to run out to the hive real quick and see what's going on. Well, hive 14 was swarming, and they were up in my oak tree, one of the trees they always go in. So I said, okay. They were still flying. I'd say like it was like in the 70% mode of the swarm. They were already there, but only half of them had landed. So I went back in, went to eat, came back out, ate quick. I was probably wasn't even half an hour later, and there was like only like 30 bees left on that branch. I go back, look at the hive, and all the bees were back on the hive front.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
so then I went. I got my queen clip, and I went and looked and looked and looked till 20 till 6. I went back out there probably about quarter after 6. So I went and I looked for about a half an hour, never found a queen or a virgin. So I don't know. I guess they
So
had the
back up.
tendency they had to swarm, so they swarmed and then flew back.
So Fred refers to that as a fire drill. And he says that they do that more often than we think. I had them doing it one year. They did it a lot. They would swarm out, they turn around, they go straight back to the box. I don't remember where the queen was. I don't remember any of that. But that kind of is, I think, more normal than we realize, where they do
Yeah,
those fire drill things. But so I'm wondering, the first one you talked about, did they
yesterday.
roll the queen? Did they
I
roll that
don't know.
queen?
I left them one cell just in case
Right.
um, if the queen
Hey,
wasn't
pencil
there.
Ducky. Practice swarm. Yeah, Lee. Right. Lee's saying a practice swarm fire drill or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's not any bees left in that
Wow.
hive. I mean, there's probably only 10,000 bees left in that hive. I
Gee.
stripped it. I took the honey off
But
of it, which wasn't much. They only had four deep frames of honey and 2 medium frames in my super. That was it. That's what I wanted to talk about, our main subject. I don't think that's so. That swarm was only like the size of a softball, or maybe a little bit bigger
mhm.
than that, because there's not that many bees left in that hive. Probably like
Hi, Keith.
6 frames of bees. So it's probably like a 3 frame swarm. And
That sounds like an
so
after
that
swarm. That
well,
sounds
that's
like
what
an
it
after.
acted like.
So now that you have, so back up. So you have supers on, right? So you're really not going down into the brood box anymore, or what?
Well, I
What's
wasn't until yesterday when they tried to swarm. So I knew they had swarm cells, and they had 19 of. Well, they had 20 of them because I left one in there. I cut 19. Well, 4 of them emerged out. I cut 15 of them.
So this is really screwy because once the supers are on and we're in flow, that I mean, so I had a similar situation today. We went down through all my hives today, and I had a similar situation. But I mean, this is just a back assward season. I mean, they're, you've
Yeah,
got honey supers on, and now they're trying to, they're now they're throwing, 10, 15 queen cells. It's just crazy.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of, it's a Corey Stephen queen, it's a VHS queen that was open mated with Chris Warner down in Florida. And he runs Carnies. So who knows?
But that doesn't like yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Because that doesn't make
this
sense
one
either,
got me.
right? I mean, how does that play into it?
I don't know. Maybe that queen was. I don't know.
Mm.
This one got me puzzled because I was really
I-
surprised they swarmed today. The
yeah,
only thing I
they
can,
think it's April. They're acting like it's the end of April, going in the beginning
yeah,
of May. That's what they're acting like. That's what mine are looking like and acting like. Like it's going into the
well,
first week of May, which is starting
our,
my swarm season.
the weather's acting that way. Yesterday it was 69 degrees, cloudy and misty, light rain off and on all day. And today finally got sunny up to 74, 75, which is still way below normal. Our normal's at 83, I think now.
I know. Hey, good enough. Come in, good enough. Come in this
Hey
stream if you
Lee,
can.
and
I
good
want to hear
enough.
your I want to hear your thoughts from up there in New England, if you can, if you want to. Um, yeah, so I came across a failed split. I had a failed split down there, and then the hive on the other side was queenless, bringing in a lot of honey, a lot of nectar, and more than, but they were queenless. So there was a colony in the center, and I went into that, took the two supers off, went into that to grab eggs, and came across probably 12 swarm cells capped. I
Yeah,
would have never. I mean, I'm not looking in my brood boxes now that I have the supers on. I mean, I
right.
just, they're usually. So I went in and 33 Mile.
Yeah, hey Phil,
Hey,
that's Phil. Yeah,
hey, Phil.
railroad, the
I haven't
train
seen you.
conductor engineer.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. I hope you're well.
He must not be
Huh.
running today. He must be off today.
Yeah.
And
So we
he's
went
got
and
all his
made.
bees.
I took some cells off, some cap cells. They were real long, which makes me worry because they shouldn't be that long. Oh, here comes good enough. You got him in. There you go.
I got
Hey,
him. Hey Kurt.
Hey guys.
he is. The cells that they were really long, which worries me because that usually means that they're that there's an issue with those queens.
Right.
But anyway, I took cells off. I added them to the 5 framer and I added them to the queenless 8 frame, just to see what's going to happen. But I would not have gone into that brood box other than having just as the closest one to look for eggs to add to the other two, and found all those cells.
Right.
But typically, when I got the supers on, I'm not, being a tourist, like Keith said. I love that term, being a tourist.
Yeah. Hey Keith.
So,
Yeah, I only went
33
into
miles on its way to work.
I
Okay.
only went into it because they were starting to they were swarming and I got them to shut it down. And Mother Nature helped me with a little rain shower.
Sure. Sure.
So I knew then there were swarm cells in there, or they wouldn't be swarming. Oh, we
Yeah.
lost them.
So I knew a nuke dealer. I used to work for help him out. I used to, when he would have all his nukes, 100, 150 nukes, he had a sprinkler system set up. And when they were starting to swarm, he turned the sprinkler on. He's like a fourth generation beekeeper. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that
a
was
good.
his one of his swarm management tools.
Well, I would say about 30% of the bees were out of that box when it started raining, and then I made the false thunder, and boy, they turned right around. And within two
Well,
minutes, they were back in that box. He's back.
yeah, there he is.
Oops.
Tanging. Tanging. You used to call it false thunder. It's called tanging.
Yeah, tanging. So, Kurt, what do you think happened with these bees?
I heard only half of what was going on. So what are you talking about?
So, so yesterday I went out to just to see the hives. It was about 4 o'clock, and finally the sun was out. First time it's been out like in 3 days,
Yep.
and a lot of rain, probably 3 or 4 inches of rain over the course of 3 days. And hive number 14, which was a one of Corey Stevens' VHS queens, um, was swarming. And I caught it actually as they started swarming. I was actually looking at the box when they started coming out. And at the same time, it started raining. So and that sun made it rain again. A little bit of sun comes out, heated up the atmosphere. And I had a steel pole that I banged up against the concrete, made some tanging noises. And with that rain and my thunder, they went right back into the box.
Cool.
So then I pulled off my 4 supers I had on it, and I cut out 19 cells and made 8 splits and put the other cells in the incubator last yesterday after evening, and all in that hive. So I split the heck out of it. I said I'm taking the honey and I'm making splits out of the whole box.
That's what I would have done.
And but I left them one cell, so there's 20 cells altogether, and I never found the queen. And I went through the box 2 times. So I said, I found a piping virgin queen, which I made a split on. So one head emerged out, and I never
So
found the queen. And today I went out
I
there.
think you already had a swarm.
Then today they went out, and today they swarmed up in the tree. I ate dinner, which took a half an hour, came back out, and they were back at the box on the front of the box, but not in the hive when I came in here.
They might be casting off multiple swarms though.
There was
You need to turn yourself up. You need to turn yourself. We can't hear. We can hardly hear. There
Can
you
you hear me
go.
now?
Wherever that.
Yes.
No.
I didn't leave them any bees, Kurt. There was probably only I can make them louder.
All right.
I
'Cause I don't
think
know how.
You can. Yeah, that's not
Is that
working.
better?
It's going through your. Maybe it's not plugged in.
I just made his volume louder.
Can you hear me now?
That's terrible.
No better?
No, I really can't.
It's
Hold on.
better.
Let's see what Circle T. Oh, look, that's a new name to me. Circle T. You smell when you put your early supers on. I was curious of what was blooming, one of the largest blooms at the time in your area. Okay.
I put my supers on when the black locust was blooming, just before the black locust was blooming. That's my big. Well, actually, I put them even before that.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
When the when the red buds, for me, the red maples and then the red buds bloom, that's when I start putting on the supers, the first set for me. But I got red bud trees. I don't know what Circle P Farm has.
Did this get any better?
Nah, it's about the same.
Didn't, huh? Let me get out and I'll try coming back in.
Do you have a volume button on your phone? Are you coming in on your phone?
I'm on a tablet.
Can you turn the volume on your tablet up? The mic part up, or the volume? Yeah, muted you. Now you muted yourself.
Yeah, I'm back again.
I don't think we can turn the volume up and down, Tom. Not on the participants.
Yeah, I can. I can edit his mic settings.
That's you.
How about that?
Yeah,
not
just me. Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's that.
Something just turned me back down. Is that any better?
I don't think that the mic that you have on the headphone is working. That's what's not working.
Okay.
Because we hear you through the tablet.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
You can edit guest. We can, Lee says. Okay. Edit mic settings. Ooh, Reduce mic noise automatically adjusts mics.
So Kurt, while you're doing that, just before evening here, around 5:30, they swarmed what was left in them, and they flew up in my oak tree about 20 feet up. I ate dinner, which only took 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and I went back out there, and they were on the face of the box. So they came back, and I looked for 20 minutes for a queen, poking on them, trying moving the bees around, and I never found a queen. I'm thinking they had in their mind yesterday that they were swarming and they still went and they still swarmed, but they flew back because there's no queen. They don't have a queen.
Yeah. She
They
never
got a
left the
queen
box.
cell.
Or it was the second, yeah, or yeah. I don't know. You weren't looking for a virgin either. Yeah. Sounds like
No, well, I was looking for
probably
both
was,
because I knew one had emerged already,
yeah.
and I found one virgin. But there was only, I mean, I had this. There was bees up in the super, so I only had two frames of brood and a frame of food left in that box. So there
Hmm.
wasn't that many bees actually left in the brood box when I was done with them, with all the splits.
Yep. Can
So
you,
I don't think I could have missed any
no?
a virgin or a mated queen.
Oh, okay. Here's Keith Spillman's. Chance.
Yeah, and that's more like first of April. Dead Nettle's about the second week, April. He's a month ahead. He's 3 weeks ahead of me, maybe a month. But I was going to talk about we've had April, we set a record and we blew the record out of the water of rain in April. May, we came in eighth highest, top 10. In June, we've already in the top 10, and we're on the 10th of June. And we get one day a week above normal, and then the rest of the week we're anywhere from 3 to 15 degrees below normal. So the area where I live, the Southwest Ohio and Ohio Valley, I've talked to other beekeepers, and my second generation beekeeper, George, told me he hasn't seen this in decades. I'm not getting any honey. So I've pulled now two hives, one that did swarm on me, and I got 40 pounds of honey off of them. And this hive, I probably only got about 30 pounds of honey off of them.
Oh yeah. I just checked I have two supers on some of my stronger colonies. Well, yeah, and it's not. I mean, I've got maybe 3 frames. It's terrible. But so what are we
Yeah,
gonna do, Tom? What are we I mean, is it just we just I mean, what do we do here? How do we manage through this?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm going to scrape and take every frame of honey I can get out of the box and then buy 1,000 pounds of sugar and feed. Because I got all my customers that are expecting honey all of next till this time next year. I don't think I'm going to get 600, 700 pounds instead of my
Yeah.
1,200 pounds.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. So I'll buy honey
Yeah,
before I will take mine down to nothing. I'm gonna let them keep so I'm going to double deeps and a medium this year. And so that's why one of the reasons why I'm not gonna get as much honey as previous. Like I get about 1,500 pounds, 1,700, something like that. But I'm not I knew I was gonna be behind because I was putting a second deep on and then the medium. And but now I mean there's no flow.
right.
So hey Dot House. And Roy, hi
Too
Roy.
bad.
So I mean, I don't know
Right.
what, I don't know what to do, or just not go to markets. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have any contracts to satisfy. You know, I have customers. If I don't have honey, I don't have honey, or I buy honey from
Right.
another beekeeper, but other beekeepers aren't going to have honey either. I mean,
Right. So
we're all, yeah,
I'll have to go down to Keith and pick some honey up off of him or something.
yeah. That's what
I'll
we'll
have
do.
to
Go
go
for a
down
road
into the
trip.
Carolinas or down to Tennessee to get honey because I don't think anybody in Ohio Valley. I know Greg up in Columbus said he got no honey, and I know Brian said he's not getting much honey up in the northern part of Ohio. So I think our whole region from
Yeah,
Evansville,
I did.
Indiana, all the way up to the northeast is really hurting this year. Good enough is
I
back.
did take a couple. I did take a couple frames. Say something, Kirk.
Is it working any better? No?
Mhm.
No,
All right, this is maybe I'll try my computer instead and get off of this thing. Okay.
I have some colonies down at a corporate at a pharma, big pharma facility, and I pulled a couple frames last week and extracted them and got, I don't know, 10 pounds, maybe 15 pounds. And
yeah,
that's it. Like, I can't do that again. I wanted a little bit of spring honey. I can't do it again. So, I mean, I do have honey down, but it's in the brood box. I can't take it. It's just no
right.
way.
Well, it's I'm 14. They had four frames down. Well, they're in the box above it, and it's upper deep. I took all four of them, and I'm feeding them. I'm starting feeding them, and I just looked at them today, and they're hitting it hard, and there's a flow going on. So it's like
Yeah.
my flow don't end for about 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks. About July 1st.
Vincent is saying this. Yeah. Oops. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can, like, if you reduce, because of the forage, yes, but we've overwintered these colonies, and or they're queen. I mean, we can't really, go backwards at this point. I mean, sell them off,
yeah.
I guess.
I'm running 16 honey hives this year, and I run anywhere from 13 to 21 every year, and I get 1,000 pounds easily. And
Hmm.
I think I'm going to end up around 600 to 700, 600, 650 if all my other hives doing the same thing. I think I'm going to average
Can you hear
about
me
40
now?
pounds a box versus my 80 to 100 pounds a box.
Still can't hear me, right?
What's that, Kurt?
Can you can you hear me?
It's a little bit better.
I'm actually
Yeah.
I'm on my phone.
Okay.
Is that working all right?
That's a lot better.
Okay. I'll have to find out what's going on with my tablet. I'm looking at a little
Probably a
tiny screen.
setting.
I can't see any comments, so or the chat.
Okay.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. I was
What's
able
up?
to turn your mic up a little bit there, uh, Kirk. I was able to turn it up a little bit too, so
Okay.
I think you're better.
Yeah.
Yep. It's funny you were talking
So-
about honey. Oh, hold on.
Well,
Yep.
the reason is, Kurt, our weather was so poor this spring with rain and cold. I think I'm only going to get half of what I normally get if I'm lucky. In fact, this is the first time I've had 16 big hives getting honey. Last year I had 13 big hives, and I got 1,200 pounds,
That's good.
and leaving a lot for them. I mean, it was probably I probably could have gotten 15, 1,600 pounds
Yeah.
because I knew I was having surgery, so I left them a lot of honey. And this year, I think I'm only getting I got 3 more hives in circuit. That was big by middle of April, where the flow really started. And I think I'm only going to average, I think I'll get about half of it, 650 pounds. And that's if I take every bit of it.
Then you're feeding. I don't want to feed like I did last year. I just don't. Sarah, where are you at? Sarah, Happy Hives. Where are you
Yeah,
at? How many hives you got? What do you?
I forget where she's at.
I don't recognize.
She can get on. She does lives all the time in the afternoon.
Oh yeah, come on! I can't be the only woman on here.
Columbus,
Columbus,
Indiana. Yeah,
Indiana.
yeah. So she's
Indiana.
she's not as bad. Actually, Indianapolis is better. Weather's been better than us. I knew she
Huh.
was close. I think that's just west of me.
Well, they say you either sell bees or sell honey, so guess I'm gonna sell bees.
Yeah,
I have 2 nukes. I have 2 nukes going out on Friday that that we're struggling to even, I mean, I was trying to get some honey off of them, but
yeah. So yeah, she's just dead west of me, about 65 miles. So Sarah's probably gotten a lot of the same weather. She's probably in the same predicament. So how much she's got? 100
26
pounds
hives.
harvest so far. Out of how many hives did she say she had? 26
26.
hives.
Yeah.
Yeah, and only 100 pounds. That's be 100 pounds would be one hive. Last year was one hive.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
Yeah,
leave. Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. I'm of the opinion of leaving most of it this year. Just
yeah.
I don't know. We're getting so much rain, like so maybe the drought. I don't know what to think.
Well, I don't think last year drought had any effect on the honey this year. I think we just been cloudy. I mean, we get one sunny day a week.
No,
We've
right.
just
But I'm
been,
saying last year I had to feed because of the drought. But this
Yeah,
year now I'm gonna have to feed because there's no. I don't
there's
know.
no honey. Yeah,
can you guys
yeah.
hear
That's
me?
what last year burnt me because I left honey. And then I had my surgery thinking everything was fine. Then we had that drought, and
Yeah.
they ate all that food before winter hit.
Yes. They were eating it as fast as I could feed them. They weren't storing any of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about ripping all the hives down, and I got probably about 50 jester boxes in my barn, and I was thinking about I
Oh,
could make I could make 50 nukes out of all my hives and overwinter
yeah.
them, and then sell them. Squish them all together so they're all or make. I do have 13 double screen boards, so I could buy some make some 4 frame nukes up, do double screen board over some of the hives. I thought about that, but
We did a split. I did a split today on one. I had three hives together. It was just my yard split up into sections, so I can work a section and
right,
then go to a completely different section and not, disturb it. But I have 3 hives that are together, and one of them was super strong, and the other 2 were a little weaker. So we were able to boost up the weaker ones, plus make a split. I had us, a a double deep and a medium, and it was crazy busy. So I was able to
Yeah.
make a little 5-framer and then well, the one I didn't add to at all. I just let it go because it was okay. Once we got in there and looked, it was fine. And then the strong one, I pulled 3 frames for a nuke, and then I pulled 2 frames for the weaker hive next to it.
Oh, what did I do? Oops.
Oh, what are you doing?
I accidentally picked the wrong figure on the chart on the
Hey,
screen.
James. Hey,
Good
what
enough
did
is back.
so yeah, I don't know what
Hey
good enough
James.
is doing. I think good enough has to get rid of his mic. There he is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better.
All right, I'm actually logging on my computer while I have this on mute.
Now we can hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm hearing your strategies for honey and nukes and stuff like that. And I'm going through a rebuilding of myself physically and my apiary. But yeah, I'm going through a pretty lengthy recovery, so I cut down quite a bit. I ended up with 2 hives coming into the spring. I'm up to about 7 right now, and
Mm.
I took the 2 hives. So what I did is I had double deeps coming out of the winter in those 2 hives, and I brought them all down into one deep, took the other deep, took all of its brood, food, and created all my splits. So I created 5 splits with those and put in
Okay.
mated queens. The one hive has been incredible. It rebounded fast as can be, slabs of honey, like you wouldn't believe. And I took 4 more frames of brood out of there. One is because 2 of my nukes didn't do very well. And so here, I'll give you, splitting bees 101. When you're creating your splits, you want to have open brood to keep your nurse bees.
Right.
And to some of the mistake is we had a lot of cap brood, made assumptions that the cap brood would hatch right away and I would have nurse bees. Well, the problem I had with 2 of those nukes is most of the bees left.
Right.
And I ended up with 2 very weak splits. So those 2 we boosted back up with more open brood and nurse bees. And what I'll do is once I get the first nuke box pretty much built up, I'll get another nuke box to put on top of that. I'll bring a frame of brood up, put an
Right.
empty frame down in the middle, and then build up the 2 boxes. After I get 2 nuke boxes pretty much full of bees, is I will either split them again or sell off a nuke to a customer.
Gotcha.
So I pretty much didn't commit to selling. I only committed to one customer, and I have a person that helps me all the time. So I told them that I would give them one of the nukes too. But
Gotcha.
other than that, I'm going to rebuild with that. Now, I've been contemplating in my mind here of what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy 3 more queens. And what I'll do is take 2 or 3 of those, nuke full of boxes, give those to my customers, my friend, and maybe I'll sell another one or keep it. But I could either create 3 more nukes for myself with those hives, or those nukes, or I could sell 3 more, down the road if I want. It's
Right.
still early enough in the season that you can get a nuke around the July timeframe and still get it built up for the winter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem is we have this philosophy now of I'm going to buy a package, I'm going to buy a nuke early in the season, I'm going to get honey from it, and then
Right.
you have dead bees in the springtime. And I think that's a big problem with our industry right now. That's my personal opinion. But getting people to understand that your first year with that nuke or package is kind of your building up time. Now,
Right.
contrary to that, I have one of my nukes I created. It's already in double deeps right now. I mean, it
Wow.
is just going nuts. And
Right.
I'm trying to figure out whether I want to super that or take more brood away from it. But that thing is amazing. So
Kurt, I even on 6 of my 8 hives that overwintered, I caught swarms, and I would take the queen and one frame, 2 frames of bees, and I'd take the rest of the 3 to 5 frames and add them to my honey hives. And I did that to 6 of my 8, and I'm still not getting any honey off them. I made them super big hives.
hmm. so um I don't think my season's much different than what you guys are. You're further west than us, but I think what's the one north and south? That latitude? Latitude wise, I think we're pretty close to Pennsylvania. And I've done work down in the Harrisburg area, so I'm pretty familiar with the weather down in that
Okay,
area. So um we had a strong flow about a month ago. And
okay,
then we got into this raining, not raining. It's just going back and forth. And it rained most of the day today. The sun came out about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and now it's almost dark.
right.
But we do have things in this area almost. Oh, my thing's giving me a note. Can you still hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
blacked out for a second.
Yeah, it says something. Host has unblocked me. Okay. Um, we have things blooming almost full year round here,
Same
um,
thing.
unless we get into a drought, and
Right,
then that becomes a different problem. So we have some kind of flow almost all the time, which I think we're pretty lucky in this area.
right, right.
But
I'm similar. There's always something blooming. Is it enough for them to store honey? That's the
yeah,
issue.
so um, not promoting my videos, but if you watch any of my videos, you'll see that I I wasn't really expecting to get a lot of honey this year, but I wanted to see what I could do with cut comb. So I put empty frames in with a starter strip,
Right.
and I checkerboard that amongst my drawn out comb. Within a week, they had those things mostly drawn out. And within two
Wow.
weeks, they were fully drawn out and they were putting nectar in them.
Yeah, but Kurt,
So
your flow's in May, right?
um, it's strong, but I believe we're going to have another flow continuing. We had a little bit, it seemed to have slacked off a little bit, but I blame that on the rain. The weather changed on us.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm, I'm looking around. We just went around the other day driving around, and I'm noticing there's chestnut trees all over the place. And these are just wild chestnut trees. They're not in people's yards, they're wherever. But the chestnut
Right.
trees are blooming all over the place around here. I'm hoping we can catch some of that. And I'm not one of these people that can tell you all the different things that are blooming around here and all that, but I know something's coming in.
Right. Our
Yeah,
flow
we have
starts
chestnut
right
trees
around the
too.
middle of April. First, second to third week of April, we get a heavy flow.
Okay.
The hummingbirds show up around the early April to the second week of April, and then that's when the flow is really going. That's what we're big then, and we're big up through May, and
Now,
then June's
remind me where you're at?
since west side of Cincinnati.
Okay, Ohio. Okay.
Yeah, north southern Ohio. So part of Kentucky's north of me.
Oh, okay. My
When the river comes up,
my daughter's in the Columbus area, so I get
okay,
weather reports every day.
and they're probably 7 to 10 degrees colder than I am.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, there's
Because
a
her
big difference between Columbus. It's, it's super hilly. I'm actually in part of the Appalachian Mountains that people don't even realize. The west
okay.
side of Cincinnati. The east side, the north side is flat, like Columbus.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, her weather is very similar to ours,
Okay.
and
Well,
I find
that
it kind
week
of
in
funny that
April,
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, when we smashed the record in April, that killed my flow.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, we had a
It was,
day. What last week was about 95 degrees.
you hit 95 degrees.
Yep.
See, my hottest day so far is 86 degrees. And we're
Wow.
supposed to get 86 degrees again Thursday.
Yeah, but
Then
today's like 70.
to here we got mid 70s, 74, 75. But it's supposed to rain again Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
are you kidding me? Oh,
No.
I can't take it.
hmm,
I can't do it.
We already reached our record. We already reached our rain for June, and it's only the 10th of June.
I don't
So
even
now
know
it's
what's
just
going on here.
I saw it in the
I don't know
news
what.
yesterday.
so
Yeah.
Nancy, whose honey is that?
Nancy's
This is from
honey.
last year.
Ah,
I
okay.
still have last year. And
I
it's
I
running.
I had my best honey year last year. I had 450 pounds of honey, and it was gone in what, February?
I have a queen producer over this way. He's doing the Harbo and all that sort of thing. And he doesn't sell honey.
Ah,
He just does but he gets honey, he harvests honey. So I
yep.
was buying off of him the last couple years when I got stuck. Now I haven't talked to him this year about it yet, but um so yeah, I buy honey off of like beekeepers that I know or I've been in their yard or I know
Yep.
their practices and stuff like that. I don't just buy it from
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
I
Right.
told the story once before. I have this person that I help out, and she gave me a jar of her honey, and I'm like, oh my god, this stuff is awful.
Was it good or terrible?
Oh no, it was terrible. I think it I
Oh,
I think it was buckwheat or something like that.
oh,
We
so
had
it
this
wasn't.
conversation a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's always different. I mean, mine is different. Mine comes in real light, but
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
hoping I don't have chestnut trees around my area, not many. I have
Yeah.
a few in my yard, but they're not big enough yet that I planted.
Yeah, I
But
just see them
we have
amongst trees around here.
I got a bunch of basswood trees in my neighborhood, a bunch and big ones, and
Hmm.
they bloom right around the summer solstice to the end to the 1st of July. So I'll get a flow off of that, and I'm hoping we have good weather.
Yeah, it would be
Oh,
nice.
here's Collector. Collector's in he's in Lake Erie, West Erie, Lake West Erie. Oh,
Okay, so he's in the early snow belt, where the early in the year snow belt, winter, I should say.
secondary snow belt, he says here. Huh.
Yeah, go east. Yeah,
I just saw on the news someone got snow the last day or so.
Jeez.
Really?
I couldn't.
I'm not sure where that was, but I was like, oh my God, it's snowing again.
Right.
It wasn't Mike up there, Mike in Vermont, was it? Mike, I haven't seen Mike in a while either. I mean,
Like in
it's spring.
Minnesota?
Everyone's busy. Yeah, Italian name.
Right.
Yeah, Mike M. I think it's M. Haven't seen him in a while.
Now I do know one thing.
No,
Our clover this year is the best I've ever seen it. It's tall, and so there might be enough of a clover to get some flow.
I planted a lot of clover, but I planted it was crimson
Okay.
clover, and
Yep.
that's coming up like crazy. That's I threw that. I seeded that everywhere around all my beds and the field back. So I don't know. I don't think it's not gonna be enough.
Well, and
And then I seeded
clover's a biennial plant and it blooms every other year.
I seeded it. The
Yeah.
red one, the crimson doesn't that only blooms once, I think, for me here. I never
Right.
had that come back.
I planted red and white and a little bit of yellow just a couple days ago for next year.
Yeah, the
I,
white, I've planted white around a couple years, but yeah,
I have a
I
clover
don't
growing
know.
in my yard, but I don't really see a lot of bee activity on it, which could be good. They're going somewhere else.
Yeah, that means there is something else. They're
Yep.
all over my clover.
Yeah.
And I got clover in 90%. I got like an acre and a half of grass slash clover that I created over the years.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The theory I hear too is that the bees will go where there's an abundance of something. So
Yeah,
when people
a
are
lot.
planting a bush in their yard or something like that, and they're going, the bees aren't coming, the bees are all dead. And I'm
Yeah,
like, no, they're going somewhere else.
right. If people say that about black locust trees, so I didn't see any bees on the tree. In my area, there are so many black locust trees. That's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Yeah. Yeah, we planted redbud, really pretty
Yeah,
tree. And
yeah, they are.
yeah, when the bees are on that, you can hear it.
Yeah, I have a lot of red buds in my yard.
Yep.
Just they were wild, and then let them grow up.
Yeah,
I probably got 20. I probably got at least 20, 30 of them.
once they start seeding, they'll start planting themselves.
Yeah, they're everywhere. I got them
And
everywhere.
and the other one I love is we have a big maple tree in our front yard, and that gets covered with bees early in the season.
Right. Yeah.
What did people think of the um Hive Alive last night?
I liked it. It was good. I'm a
Yeah,
Charlie?
believer of I'm a believer of Hive Alive though. It's I overwinter with it.
me
I
too.
th- I think it helps with, and I don't know what it is, nosema or whatever, or dysentery.
Yes.
But I was getting a lot of poop on the outside of my hives because my fall honey is very dark,
Ashley.
thick,
Yep.
and it
Yeah.
tends to
Yeah.
make the bees sick. And since I've been
Hmm.
using Hive, I've been using it for about 3 years now. I don't see that so much.
Right.
Right.
It cleans out their guts.
Yeah, I think
It
it's
cleans them
that's why
out.
I asked the question. I think it's thymol that's doing that. If it's a
Yeah, I
small
don't know what
amount,
it
they
is.
said. Well, I guess the seaweed thing, I guess, is supposed to be doing something too. But
You can smell it.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a smell to it.
yep,
Yeah. You
But
can smell the seaweed and you can smell the thymo a little bit too.
I
yep,
love the stuff. I use it. I use it for the health of my bees. I don't use it to increase. It's not like rocket fuel. Like, it's not like Apis biologics where that's gonna, like, grow and you're gonna take off. this, I think, it's all good. Like, I think Apis Biologic is a good product. I think Hive Alive is a good product, and other things we use, but we use it all for different purposes.
Yep.
Um, but I don't think you would use, like, someone was saying that they use 3 different, it was rocket fuel, Hive Alive, and something else. And I thought, wow, why would you do all 3? Like, you kind of,
Right.
So
I don't remember what the
yeah,
third one was, but
there's some big
yeah.
beekeepers around here, and they really push to people with the pollen patties in the spring and doing all kinds of stuff. And the one problem I have with that personally is they're telling this to inexperienced beekeepers,
Oh, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
and they come out of spring, their bees are in the trees and gone. And I'm like, are you doing this because you're selling bees to these people? You
Wow.
know,
Right.
you got to teach these people swarm management if you're going to teach them to feed in the spring like that.
Yeah. Well, and
Right.
the other thing too is some people sell swarms. Like, you go and that you buy a nuke, like they're saying, oh, I'm a 5-frame nuke. Well, they pack them so full for these new people, and they're actually just selling them a swarm.
Yeah.
It's like, back off a little bit of the nukes here. You don't have to, make them busting out, because a new beekeeper isn't going to have swarm management skills. You have
Right.
to know who you're selling to. But
Yeah.
yeah, mhm.
I have mixed feelings when I'm selling nukes because yeah, I could pack one out and make it look really cool, and it might be dead by the time they get it home because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna
Right.
overheat. Um,
Right.
and and like you said, I at least the method that I'm using where I'm using 2 nuke boxes and then I'm creating the nuke right before I sell it. And when I say right before, it's like the night before. They really don't
Yeah.
have the time to
That's
get
what I
into the
do.
swarm mode. But
Right.
there are tons of beekeepers that create their nukes right in the nuke boxes. They pack them out, and I had it happen to me my first year. So my first year I bought 1 nuke. The second year I bought a backup one. I bring this thing home. It's got a queen cell in it. The queen
Mm,
was horrible. The queen was horrible. I talked to the guy.
Wow.
He's knocked down the queen cell. So we did that. I did that, and I got this queen. The queen didn't do anything. It died. I ended up using it for my own split and stuff like that. But I said, you know what? I'm not buying bees anymore. And that was the
You know what
last
that
nuke.
sounded like, Kirk? That
What's
sounded
that?
like someone bought a package and grew it out to a nuke, because they want to
Well,
supersede the package queens more
no, I
often.
so I knew the beekeeper well enough that in the spring he's splitting his hives, he's dropping queens in them, and he's doing these all in nuke boxes. And what happens is, depending upon when your delivery date is or whatever, they could overbuild and create
Right.
queen cells, or when he created the nuke, um, it still had eggs before he got the queen cells, got the queens in there, and they created their own queen cell before it actually got its queen. And now you got competition between this new mated queen and a queen cell that's in there. But whatever it was, it didn't work very well.
Right. I do, Kurt. I got 12 6/6 nuke boxes. But
Yep.
I was going graft, but now I don't have to graft, or I'm only going to do a little graft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did the work
Hey,
for you.
I'll be honest with you.
I'm going
Those
to have all 12 of them filled up with virgin queens. I got all but 2 filled up now with virgin queens or
those
cells.
those swarm cells
And
are
then
good.
I overwinter them, and then in late April I sell that queen. I can graft usually around the first week of April. So I got
Wow.
drones by that. So I'm a couple weeks earlier than you are,
Yeah, you
I
are. I
think.
I wouldn't do that then.
Oh, look.
2 years
Yeah,
ago, yeah,
you got the
two
hat.
years ago I grafted on the 26th of March,
Wow.
and last year I grafted about the 4th of April. That's usually when I graft, the last few days of March, the first couple days of April. So then about the third week of April, I sell that nuke with the overwintered queen from the previous summer solstice queen. And then I put queen cells in all the rest of the bees that are left in there. And then a month later, I sell another nuke out of those 12.
Todd. Matt. Yeah, Matt, I don't know what are you saying that Matt, are you saying that the European videos have Hive Alive in Tupperware?
Yeah,
Or what do you
a lot of people in Europe buys baker's fondant and they put it in into a plastic container or in a Ziploc bag. Yeah, that's
Yeah, but
really
this
common in
is
Europe.
not he's saying Hive Alive. So Hive Alive fondant comes in bags. You wouldn't take it out of the bag and put it in a different bag or take it
No,
out of the
he
bag and
just
put
said
it in
he asked if anybody's seen a European video that uses Hive Alive. I haven't. I've always seen they use baker's fondant, just like he said, and I think it's a
Oh,
lot less. I think it's a lot less expensive.
yeah, we do here too. There's a lot of there's clubs that will sell fondant uh baker's fondant in big, 50-pound blocks. And then
Right.
the clubs sell it out. I was warned against that though, that it had a lot of and I don't know if it's true or not. I never used it. It has a lot of 10x sugar. You know what I mean by 10x? Um, oh, it's the sugar that we use for ice, to make icings and stuff.
Oh,
Confectionery sugar. And
confectionery
that has
sugar.
cornstarch, has a lot of cornstarch in it. And then I was warned against early on not to have cornstarch. So I never used
Yeah,
it, and now I just use. Then I found Hive Alive, so
I
I
I
never.
I know a commercial beekeeper down in Georgia that buys drums of 55-gallon drums of corn syrup, and that's all he feeds his bees.
Yeah. Well,
So
it was the fondant. It was the 10x sugar. The confectionery has a lot of uh
right, confectionery sugar.
cornstarch.
So I don't know if
Oh yeah,
if
no doubt, Matt. Yeah, Hive Alive is making a lot of money, no doubt. But
night,
the
Sarah.
convenience, it's less than a pound. Like a 2.2 bag for me is $6, maybe $7. So what's that? 8-ounce jar of honey? You know?
Right,
So if I give
right.
them two, so it's all relative to honey for me. I just figure out how much it would cost me in honey, and it's worth it.
Well, a dead hive or a live hive too. To me, it's cheap insurance.
Yeah.
Matt makes good fondant. The bees love it.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah. Yeah.
I got his
I
recipe.
just don't
I'm going to be making some.
I don't want to do it. I have a brand new kitchen. My first year in my brand new kitchen, I made uh what's it when you cook the sugar down, you break it? What's that called? Ah,
Oh,
You were
invert.
caramelize it,
I made invert syrup,
invert
invert
it.
sugar, invert. I
Yeah, inverted
inverted
sugar.
probably 300 pounds in my brand new kitchen. And yeah, I won't do I don't do that. It's just not worth it to me. I don't
Right.
have any other place to do it, and I just don't want, you know, I don't want to do it. I'll just buy it from Hive Alive and be done with it. I get their pollen patties too.
I got an electric skillet that I could do it in my barn if I wanted to. I had that for brew when I used to brew a lot of beer.
I'm
you
already
know,
cooking in
Water
my
up.
kitchen twice a day. I
I
don't need to be cooking anymore.
yeah, I try to talk to people about treating your bee hobby as a business, and the economics work out. Whether you're selling nukes or honey
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty good incomes, and you just got to be careful about what you're buying. If oh, bless you,
Oh,
bless
excuse
you
me.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I laugh. When I first started beekeeping, I followed the Fat Bee Man, and he said, "Stay out of the
Mm.
catalogs." You know, that's some of the best advice I think you could give
Yeah.
to a beekeeper. And all the gadgets that they want to sell you. I haven't gone to the bee conferences, but I jokingly tell my wife, I said, I don't want to go. I will spend too much money there. Um,
Right.
and you look at what the conference is. It's booths. They're selling products to you. Now it's
Right.
Oh
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. But the people that are worrying about whether they're making their own or they're buying Hive Alive, that's not going to make or break you.
Right.
And it's
Right.
convenient and cheap. And I don't sell the stuff, but I am selling it, I guess. But I mean, I cut a little triangle, pull the flap over, and slap it on with a feeder shim in there, and I'm done.
Way you
Right.
go. Yeah.
There's nothing
Well,
to it.
we most 90% of us know each other from the expo, the
Oh
conference
yeah,
down
I
there. That's where
I
we all met
watched
years.
I watch the YouTube videos. I see all you guys there. It's great. I mean, I
Yeah.
love
Right.
it. Um,
The first year or two, I spent a lot of money down there. It was stuff that I needed to grow
Right.
my business, my operation, But the last couple years now, I fly, so I really don't. I really don't need. It's just about going and talking to people and hanging
oh, it's a
out,
great
really.
it's a great social event, and I'm
Yeah.
getting my social interaction just watching YouTube. Um,
Watching us nutcakes.
but
But
it's
Yeah.
fun.
yeah,
It's funny. Through YouTube, I feel like I know half of these beekeepers, and
yeah,
most of them have never even met me or anything. But it's funny to listen to people. You kind of get to know them. Um, yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
great thing.
I go down to Louisville, so it's not even a full 2 hour drive. If I push the speed limit a little bit, I can get down there in an hour and a half. But if I go the speed
that's
limit, it takes me two
crazy.
hours.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I have three cousins that live down in Louisville. So one Wednesday night I go out to dinner with the gang. Thursday night I go out to dinner with my cousins, and Friday night I go out to dinner with the gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
It
good.
takes me longer than that to get to the airport in Philly to fly to Louisville.
Yeah, and Kurt, you mentioned about buying bees and stuff like that. I know the industry, especially down in Georgia, created the mite issue that we have in the United States. That and almond fields. There has been studies after studies done in the United States and Europe and Australia that are any queens that are mated with 30 drones or more have 8 times less mites in them. Any queens mated with 40 drones or more has 10 times less mites in their hives because of diversity of genetics. They've proven that. Everybody's proven that. And they say ones that
Huh.
get rated by 60 don't have mites, 50 or 60 drones. We sell so many queens in this country, especially down south. There's no way those queens are getting mated by more than 10 or 15 drones because they're doing thousands and thousands of queens. That means they got to have a million drones.
Yeah. The ratio isn't right.
The
The other
ratio
Right?
th-
Is
is
that what
not
you're saying?
right. So they're
Yeah.
selling all these queens up north that have no diversity of genetics, and these mites and these hives have high mites in them.
yeah, I mean, I definitely see the business up here in the north of buying packages. Um, they bring these truckloads up here, and I'm sure I don't talk to these people that doing it, but I can make my assumptions. They're probably getting these things for a certain price. They're just
Right.
flipping them to these beekeepers. And you got these beekeepers that are buying 1 or 2 packages, 5 packages. They're doing this every year. They don't really know how to overwinter very well. And I
Right.
started my YouTube because I was trying to share people with my success. I'm not trying to
Hmm.
sound arrogant about it, but I'm going, this is what I do. And like Mike Berry says, these are not how to's. This is what I do. And I I
Yeah.
I I kick myself because he did it before I could do it. Come up with that saying. But I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I love what he's saying when he's telling that to people. And I will get people that will call me up and ask me some questions, or they'll call me in the springtime describing what they'll do. I mean, one of them that just totally blew my mind. I'm like, I have no idea. And I said, you know what? I'm going to throw this one out there. I said, do you use a queen excluder? He goes, yeah. And he goes, you know what? She was dead below the queen excluder. And I
Oh,
went, yeah, no kidding, huh? You left your queen excluder in over the winter? And he goes, do you think that did
oh,
it? I said, think. I know it did it. I
oh my
was,
goodness.
but I was like,
Wow.
just things like that there are
Right.
so many people that just don't understand the basics of what
That's
they
what
need
these
to
bee
do.
chats are all about, is
Yep.
talking
Right.
about. I mean, we
Right.
we bill ourselves as more advanced. We're not like teaching you how to, do mite checks and that sort of thing, or but yeah, I mean, these bee chats are just invaluable for all of us, whether we're
I
new or old. But yeah, I mean,
so
the
I
influx of the.
yeah, I just for not getting belabored into it, but I went through a pretty serious surgery November 2023. So the 2024 beekeeping season I needed a lot of help. I had
Hmm.
people that were going through the master beekeeping course that were
Oh no.
coming to me, and I was like, that's great. I mean, getting a title and all that, you're learning a lot, but they were coming to me for the hands-on. They were helping me, and
Hmm.
I told them, I said, here's the deal. I'm going to share with you what I know, and you're going to help me do the physical part of this.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we had some really
Hmm.
great I made some really nice friends out of
Right.
this. And the people that helped me, God, I hope they're not watching this now, but the people that are helping me now have been beekeeping 3 or 4 years longer than I have. And I feel like they're a mentor as I'm talking them through things.
Yeah,
And
I hear you.
so when people go, how long you been beekeeping? I don't care that you've been doing it for 15 years. And I had a saying at work because my job at work was finding root causes of problems. But I would joke with people, you've been doing this wrong for 15 years?
Right.
Or first year, there's a saying too about there's a first year beekeeper for 15 years. Like their first, there's some
Yep.
sort of saying like that too.
Yeah. There is that
Well,
though.
well, Kurt, if you look behind me at my background, if you look at my hives, they're all turned long ways. My
Hmm.
entrance is in the front.
When you
The
say
warm way, the warm,
Langstroth, when he designed that hive, made a major mistake in it.
you
yeah.
have,
He
where's your
made
end?
he put the entrance in parallel with the
Oh,
comb frames.
I remember you saying that. Yep.
I just did a cutout 4 days ago, and guess what? Entrance was here, and all the frames were going the opposite and were in perpendicular to the entrance. In fact, the
Yeah.
first cone frame, they had it just 3/8 of an inch off from the entrance, and they had it cone stuck to the front of the concrete, so you only bees could go through probably 6 or 7 areas around that comb. The rest of it was sealed.
Do you know what I'll say? I always fall back on this. I'll say good enough.
So,
I
in
love
my
it.
experience, then I talked to Mr. Ed and I talked to Randy at one of the bee conferences a couple of years ago, and I asked them both. I said, "Have you ever noticed how the comb frames are running at the entrance of their holes?" And they both said, "We've never looked at that." Well, Randy
Interesting.
got back with me, and then a year later, Ed got back to me. He says, "Tom, you were right about every one of them. They're perpendicular to the entrance, almost every, or diagonal. Some of them were diagonal. None of them were in line with the cone."
Right.
So
Warm
I'm
way. Don't we call that the warm way? I meant to
Yeah, and
change
Europe does most of their hives that way.
interesting.
I wanted to change some of mine this year and I didn't get to it. I might still be able to do it in the fall, but I definitely want to change some of my colonies over to that and see how they do. Because it doesn't make sense to have all the air coming in the same
Right,
parallel to the frames, you know? It
right,
makes sense to have it this way. So
and
I'm just
every
gonna kick out one of the the board on my bottom board. I'm gonna kick that out and then cut that into my entrance reducer
right,
and
and then
If
make this.
you
I when I did my cutout just the other day, um, the first frame cone frame on the side where the entrance was nothing on it. It was just comb cells. On the
Mhm.
inside, they had honey and they had some pollen on it. The next frame was honey and then all pollen, and then it was all brood after that. All the way to like 7 or 8 frames, cone frames of brood, and then they had honey after that. And that's how every hive is. That's how I
It's
have
like a
all
long.
my
no
hives set
you
up that way now.
you I mean you might be onto something. And I go back to my earlier career in finding process improvements and things. And what it talks about is there's significant factors to processes, and there's things that are less significant. And so I don't know if it's a significant find. It is something. It sounds like you found at least what they're doing in nature. But I've heard the argument over and over again about in nature about the entrances at the bottom and there's no top venting. Well,
That's
I
correct too.
have I have a little half-inch hole because I leave a feeder shim in there over the winter, and I try to keep my winter configuration in all throughout the year. Because one is I don't have to go store all this stuff, and
Right,
my shim, I think it's about an inch, maybe an inch and a half high, has a half-inch hole in it. So essentially, I'm top venting with a half-inch hole. But when I started beekeeping, I had big holes, I had screens in them, and it was like
right,
way too much. And it
yeah,
also took more material. And then I started building these little tiny shims just so I could put something like Hive Alive in there, and or something else in there.
right, right.
And I kind of came down to a half-inch hole was a pretty good size. I had a couple ones that I think had 1-inch holes. And I noticed throughout the winter, the bees were propolising it, but not propolising it shut. They were
Mhm.
leaving a
Right.
little hole so that they could still go in and out. Now, I call it my monster
Creates.
hive. The one that is going nuts right now, it prefers its top entrance. So I have bottom entrances and I have top entrance. And I, there's a little bit of theory about if you're using queen excluders, they don't have to go through an excluder because they're going through the top.
Yeah,
I don't know if that matters or not, because I have
yeah,
other
I
ones.
agree.
I have other ones where I'm using migratory covers with no venting on top, and they're going through a queen excluder with no problem too. So
Right.
I tell people whether you want to vent or not, it really doesn't matter, but just don't over vent.
And another thing that I did is all my entrances are 3/8 high by 2 inches wide. And they go into a cavity that's closed except for an inch on each side that's open. After they go in, an inch and 3/4. 3/4 of
Yeah.
of the wood, and then 1 inch from the block. And what that does is that keeps all the cold air trapped down at the bottom of the front of the bottom of the box.
Mhm.
And also it stops robbing because when any bee or yellow jacket enters into that hive, it thinks it has to go out to the front of that hive. So that 1 inch block, they'll go in that corner and they're not smart enough, even the bees, my neighboring bees next to me, that they have to back up an inch to get out.
Hmm.
And they'll keep going, trying to go in that corner. Any yellow jacket that goes into my hive or any robber bee that goes into my hive does not make it back out.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't think I and there's a philosophy that in the summertime wide open entrance. I'm kind of with where you're at, Tom. I don't believe in that. And if you look
I
at a
don't
lot of
either.
my if you look at a lot of my hives, I have my mouse guards on. They're the perforated circles, and that's a whole nother
Yeah.
discussion whether you like those things or not. But I leave those things on all through the summer. But I show a method of basically tacking a piece of wood on there so it makes an entrance reducer, and I just slide that thing
Hmm.
in there.
Right.
But I find that I usually don't have to open that entrance up any more than that unless we get some like crazy heat wave. I mean we sometimes do get into the 100-degree, days, but
Right.
that's rare. That's rare.
Yes. We usually get a day or two. Well, we used to always get it some, but not lately.
So
I've
I don't
noticed
even
too
know.
with robbing, I let the grass grow up in front of my colonies, and there's less robbing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a hidden entrance form.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
I,
The bees that live there, they know how to navigate,
oh yeah,
but the
yep,
robbers can't quite figure it out. So I have these big grasses growing. I mean, it's, almost as tall as the hive, but
yeah.
I'm letting them, I'm not mowing or weed whacking in front of my hives anymore. Whatever grows up, I have one that has like 3 milkweeds growing right up in front of it. And I'm gonna leave it all there because the bees that
Right.
live there know what they're doing.
This couple that helps me out is, for lack of better words, they're very neat people, and I drive them nuts because I face all my hives towards the center, and if you can imagine a U shape and all the hives are facing into the center, and
Hmm.
I don't go into the front of my hives. Everything I do is around the outside perimeter of that. And the good
Hmm.
thing about that, anybody that's mowing grass or anything, the bees are all doing their thing in front of the hives, not in the back of the hives. So the bees aren't, but the problem is my helpers are just, it drives them nuts because, like you said, Nancy, the grass is growing 3 feet high, and they think they need to open the flight path for the bees. The bees navigate just fine going
No,
through
they
there.
go,
Yep,
yeah,
they figure it out. And matter of fact, like you said, they just go straight up. I tell
yeah.
people that the best thing you can do is put a barricade around your bees, especially if you live in a neighborhood or something. They'll fly straight up and gone. And like nobody will even know they're there.
Right. Right.
I have a section of my yard. It's only has one colony in it now, but it has set up for a second colony. And I love the little section that it's in. But I got ants in that section, like I mean, they are just building. There's thousands of eggs every time I go in. And I take it's a little black one. So they're not getting into the hive. They're getting to be a pain to me because they're running up my arms. They don't bother in the bees, but I think I'm gonna just tear down that section and move that one hive and the stand for the other hive, the cinder blocks. It's not a stand, but I think I'm just gonna instead of I don't fight ants, you know what I mean? Like I don't put any stuff on them or anything like that. I'm just gonna move the colonies because it's the
Yeah.
only two that have the ant problem. So I'm just gonna move them.
I was
Right.
describing to someone, well, one was hive beetles, but ants too. So I grow mint, peppermint, whatever kind of mint there is around the bottoms of my hives.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff is pretty much invasive. It'll keep growing like crazy. Now
Right.
the other side of it is every time I walk around my hives, I step on it.
Oh, it smells
So
good.
it smells nice, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it seems to help with some of that stuff though. But
Right.
Yeah.
I got a
I would
subject.
love I kill tea here. I try to get tea growing and I have it in containers, but my mountain mint, I killed it. I don't know why.
Yep.
Doesn't
So
like
I
the
have an
soil.
interesting subject. Um, I think a couple weeks ago I talked about someone sent me a test for honey, and I've never heard of this place before. Oxela. It's Oxela Lab.
Hmm.
I tried to do a little researching on them. I couldn't find a lot. I did send them an email at one point because I said, "Are you okay if I do a video on this and put it on YouTube?" And I said, "It'll be
Mm-hmm.
my honest video of the results." And they were like, "Sure, as long as it's honest." So I did the test. I made a little video of it. Nobody's watching it. Um, that's my channel though. But
Yeah.
the interesting thing is it's supposed to test for active enzymes in honey. Now,
Oh.
the interesting part of that is, and this is the real controversial part about it, is how is everybody processing their honey? And I know a lot of the bigger beekeepers warm up their honey, and the question is how high to help it flow better. It flows better, it bottles better, and things like that. Well,
Okay.
the enemy of these active enzymes is heat.
Yes.
And
Right.
so in my test, I had spring honey and I had fall honey. So light honey and dark honey.
Mm-hmm.
My light honey showed active enzymes and my dark honey showed a little more. Now, apparently, these active enzymes is basically what's producing the hydrogen peroxide that's in honey. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but my fall honey foams like crazy. And I've been told that's hydrogen peroxide. And
Yes.
my
Yes.
spring honey does not foam, or
Right.
at least if it does, it's very little. So that kind of agrees with the test a little bit that it seemed a little more active in my fall honey. Now, I took the same samples in another test. I poured boiling water right off my stove as if someone was making tea. Because all these people that are putting honey in their tea because it's helping them with their allergies,
You don't add it until right before you drink it.
you nailed it right on the head. Because
Yep.
when I did that test, it killed all of the active enzymes.
That's what I
Yeah.
tell all my when I'm at markets and I'm selling to people and we're talking about you know, I sell, you know, you don't put it in your tea until right before you're ready to drink it.
Yep, that's
So I
probably
must
the
say that 100 times a day, hundreds of times a day.
you can tell that it's been tested now.
Right.
But
Right.
I found
Yeah.
it was interesting,
When I bottle my honey, I warm it up to 95 degrees for
which
about
is the
2 days.
which is the beehive though. I mean, that shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
And someone
Right.
commented in my video, and I just saw the comment today. I think they said that you can heat the honey up to like 104, but after
40.
they said
Well,
104
the
for
commercial
the
guys run it to 140.
for the active enzymes.
No, it doesn't have active.
140,
It never crystallizes either.
no, but
Yeah,
what I'm
they
getting
killed
at
every.
is you're killing
Yeah,
the active enzymes if you're going
Yeah,
up to 140.
yeah,
right.
And
yeah, absolutely.
this person's comment was that if you go to 104, you're not killing the active enzymes. Or I don't know if you can kill them or you break them down, whatever you do to the enzymes, but you're
Mhm.
Right.
degrading them. And so when
Yeah.
people go to the supermarket, because the funny thing, and I tell people this and they laugh at me, yeah, everybody says their honey's better. Well, people coming to me are like, your honey tastes different. And
Mhm.
well, I don't heat my honey. In my
Right,
processing, I don't use any heat.
right.
And so my active enzymes are probably about as active as they're going to get, at least for this area.
Right.
Now, the one thing I don't know is the honey that I tested was spring of last year and fall of last year. So I don't know if the age degrades the active enzymes or not.
Yes.
It would be interesting to test it as soon as you harvest it. Now,
Yes,
I'll,
I tell people to eat their honey within a year. Like, if you're not, if your honey is lasting longer than a year in your cupboard, you need to eat it faster. Like,
yeah,
eat it within a
Right.
year. Oh, it lasts forever, right? I'm like, well, lots of things last forever,
well, it
you
doesn't
know?
spoil. It doesn't spoil.
Right, it's shelf stable. However, for the most optimal, the reasons you're eating local raw honey is for the medicinal benefits. So eat it
Yes.
within a year. And
Yep.
then they're like, "Oh, okay." Like, it's not going to be bad for you, and that heating it to 140 isn't bad for you. But if you're eating local raw honey for a purpose, you're missing the point. You're not getting what you're after. So I don't heat mine. I extract in July.
Hot
I,
enough,
you
right?
know, with no, yeah, it's
Yeah.
hot enough. Right, and I freeze my frames, like, I'll put, a lot of my supers through the freezer, -6 for 7 or more days, and then I can store that for up to 2 to 3 months, in my garage, which I don't keep a car in the garage, but my garage is my workspace for my bees, but I can keep that for, I think I kept it for 2.5 months last year. But you can't use an old freezer, like one that's, your beer freezer. It's no good for the house anymore. This is new. These are new freezers, -6 for at least 7 days,
Yeah,
and even longer.
honey will take on the taste of whatever it's near to. In other
Well,
words, if you're
there's no,
talking,
it didn't.
I'm saying
Well, it's just my.
if you're using an old freezer is what I'm talking about.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, these are brand new freezers that were bought
Right.
for honey. So there's, but then they seal up pretty good. But my garage is, you can't even get a car in it. But that's my workspace. It holds all my equipment, and it's where I fix things and build things, the bee related stuff. So I'm able to, so then when I take 5 supers out of the freezer, I put 5 more in. And then those 5 come out, thaw out, then the 5 come out of the freezer, and then I will also pull fresh honey, and those will get extracted, those supers get extracted, and then they go through the freezer. So I'll run, the warm ones that just came off the colonies July 4th, or July whatever. I'll run them through and heat things up, and then run some of the ones that went through the freezer, which are now at a good 100 degrees, because my garage is an air conditioned. But so I don't use artificial heat. I use the heat that's, just the ambient temperature to extract mine.
So here's when you talk about the customers and for the medicinal purposes,
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, you know, when I first started, everybody wanted light honey, and then everybody later on wanted dark honey. Now, what I found
Mm.
funny is the people that were coming to me in the springtime that wanted dark honey for the medicinal purposes, and I'm like, well, dark honey is fall um, foliage, you know, or late summer, and the light honey is from, you know, all the pollens and things that you're getting in the springtime. So it's, you know, if you're doing it for your allergies, you'd think you would want to use the honey that's for that time period. I don't know how much.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know
I
how
have
much
people
honey
ask me
helps.
that I have people that ask me that question, and I think that's getting to splitting hairs a little bit. Just start. Just start with local honey, you know, within your garden zone, zone 6, zone 7. You know, you're not going to get, you know, good enough. Your honey up there is not going to be local for me. Texas, Tom's honey in California or Phillips honey in Texas. You know, Tom's honey will probably be pretty local. We have the same foliage and trees and whatnot, but
Right.
I don't split hairs on spring and summer and all of that. I don't think that, you know,
Yeah,
they just need
I
to
was
start.
just thinking if they're
Yeah.
wanting it for their allergies, they'd want to get the seasonal honey with that. But
Yeah, and I
I,
think they will figure that out. The customers do kind of figure that out in time. But hi,
yeah,
Kenneth.
Hey, Kenneth and honeybee compound. The only exception in the springtime that's dark honey is tulip poplar.
is that
Yeah.
what's giving me my dark honey right now?
Yes, tulip
Yes.
So
poplar.
so apparently we have those around, and I have a frame that's half light and half dark right now, and I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from, but I'm getting dark honey in here.
Right.
But when you hold it up to
Yeah.
the light,
Hey guys,
like when you bottle it,
My tulip poplar got washed out. It rained for like 5 days in a row right when it bloomed.
what were
Got
you
when you
saying,
hold
zero
it up
Betsy?
to
dark
the
honey
light,
this
Kirk,
year.
is it light when you hold it up, or is it dark? You know,
Well,
does it
I'm
lighten up?
it's still in the frame, and this is in
Oh,
my cut comb frames where I have no foundation. So I mean, I'm pretty sure it's dark because the comb is white. Um, it's very, you
I'd
know,
wait
it's
till
very
you
light
extract
comb.
it. I bet it's lighter than you think.
Yeah, it
I
could
bet
be,
it's a
could
little
be,
lighter. Yeah.
but it's noticeably darker than the honey
Yes.
next to it.
Yes.
Yep.
And where did that colony could have gotten into something that the one, you know, next to it didn't? But when I started selling honey, everybody wanted the dark honey.
Oh,
And then when I started getting the light honey, people were like, "What?" And
mhm.
now their palate is changing, you know, to get
Um,
the lighter honey.
So the only honey that I have is creamed honey, and what I did is I made a very large batch of it
Mm.
because I first time I made a small batch, and when it got discovered, it sold out, and I had nothing. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a bunch of my 5 pound bottles. I'm going to make some creamed honey out of it. So now I have all this creamed honey, and I have no other honey. And people are coming to me, do you have honey? And I'm like, well, no, I have creamed honey. No, I don't want that. That's processed. And I'm
Oh,
like, well, that's what they're telling me. They don't even know how creamed honey's made.
yeah,
right.
right.
And I'm like, do you understand that this is made from my honey? And all I'm
Yeah.
doing is adding prior creamed honey that I had made from my honey to this
Yeah, see,
honey.
that's I'm not engaging with 100 customers talk. I don't even sell
Oh,
creamed honey. I
I
don't do it.
I need to stop having those conversations and just tell them I
Yeah.
don't have honey, because
Yeah.
when finally those people come back that want cream honey, it's a no-brainer conversation. It's easy to have. But trying to sell it to someone that doesn't know what creamed honey is painful.
Nope, I don't even bother. I don't even
Yep.
sell creamed honey. I don't make creamed honey. I don't sell creamed honey. Now, I will have a couple bottles of crystallized honey on the table And those people already know what it is and they ask for it.
Yes.
Like they'll say, I want the thick, or I want the solid honey. I think that's what they call it. They call it something. And I said, I got that right here.
Do they have a European background?
No,
Probably.
they're just like no, they just don't want the mess of runny honey.
Oh, I have
Like,
people with European backgrounds that they're very specific. They want combed honey, they want crystallized honey, they want
Yeah.
creamed
Yeah.
honey. They have a
don't-
different palate than the other people do.
They don't sell runny honey.
No, no. Now, here's a funny thing. My spring honey, I don't think I've ever had it crystallize.
oh, my spring honey crystallizes fast.
No.
Faster
Yeah, see,
than dark
I'm like
honey.
you. Mine takes about 8 to 10 months to crystallize.
Yeah. Yep. It barely crystallizes. So
He just froze up.
Well, crystallization has to do with the sugars. The higher sugar
Sugar
content,
imbalance. Yeah.
quicker it'll crystallize. But my spring honey crystallizes quick.
Hurt, you froze for a few seconds.
yeah, I hit a button and now I fixed. I think, am I good now? My phone slipped in my hand and I'm like, oh my God, these things are sensitive.
Yeah, you're good. You're back to normal.
All right. Well, as good as I'll get, right?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of work, man. That's a lot. And
Yeah,
borage
it is.
gets
That's
real
awesome,
leggy.
man.
I planted that last year. It gets real leggy and then just wants to grow across the ground. Like, I don't know. Didn't grow up for me. It wanted to grow lateral.
I started planting witch hazel bushes in my yard, and they bloom from December, January, and February, and they bloom up to 8 weeks. And they are nectar and pollen source. So
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I have
One
my
of the
50, 60, 70-degree days in January, December, January, and February, they're going to have a pollen and food source in a couple more years. They're not quite there yet. They will be. That's a great bush to plant in your yard. They get like, I think full grown, they get like 15 by 15, or almost small trees, big bushes.
Any idea how the honey is? Does it taste good?
No idea, because they just eat it in the wintertime.
Oh, okay.
It blooms in December until it gets germinated. It stays bloomed for 8 weeks.
Well,
It's a yellow flower. It's actually a pretty flower. So I'm trying to get more and more of it on the edges of my field to the woods.
just to let
Well,
people
that's
know,
good, Rick. Got some of that honey.
I can't see comments on my phone, so if anybody's saying something to me, I haven't seen
Kurt
it.
said he went through 3 boxes, got some light honey. Here's how light mine is. So I pulled that like 2 weeks ago. So got some color to it. It's not real light. No. I just hope I get a flow here in the next 2 or 3 weeks to get some poundage on my hives.
Now, how much honey do you usually get, Tom?
What's that?
How much honey do you usually get?
Over that. Well, last year I had 13 hives and I got about 900 pounds. The year before that, I got a little over 1,000 pounds. I usually get
wow.
about 80 to 100 pounds per hive.
That's good. That's real good.
And this year, it looks like I'm getting 30 to 40 pounds so far. And
I typically have a couple really strong hives, and then I'll have a bunch of weaker hives that, I get a little. It's all over the place for me usually.
that's what I'm normally, Kurt. And last year, I got 13 out of my 21 hives big. This year, I got 16 of my 21 honey hives big, and the other 5 are medium.
Wow.
They were early splits that I did from my 2 resource hives that survived. I made splits out of them to get them going. And they're good size now, but the flow's about over.
So
I had to go put my
kind of.
golf cart away. I
Oh,
still had my golf cart out.
Yeah. I want to run out before it gets dark to see what hive number 14's doing. If they all went back into the box or what.
Or is she flying? Or if that virgin tried to go back in and went underneath.
I couldn't find any virgin. And
Yeah, they're
I was poking
squirrely.
everywhere to move the bees around.
They're squirrely, man. They'd run.
Yeah, and they run. I would have seen her. And these bees were
There's
just
an ant.
planted up against the front of the box. They weren't even moving. They were all chained together. They all stick
Oh,
together.
I
So,
have had some success with tanging. I really I don't believe I mean I have every time I see a swarm or I don't get as many now, but whenever I see a swarm, I start tagging immediately,
oh yeah,
and I get them to come down to the bush. Like I get them to come down
yeah.
to level. I really don't know the theory behind it. I just don't know. It works. I've seen it work. I've had it work
Oh, it works.
multiple times,
Yep.
but I don't know why. I don't know. I heard, the thunder, how
I think it's thunder. When I did it yesterday and then it rained that right, it started raining.
well,
As soon as I saw them coming out, it started drizzling. And
Well, that helps.
I keep a 2x4, 2x3 hollow post that's heavy. My son used to be a welder, and it's an old welding pipe. And my stand is concrete underneath it, and I just bang against that concrete, and it's loud. I mean, I probably the whole neighborhood hears me. And
oh, I just hit two hive tools together. I make a ting
and
ting with the hive tools,
well, this
and
is
then
like
and that
4 times louder than that. And between
yeah,
that, they were
it
in that
brings them
hive
down.
within 2 minutes. They were back in that hive.
You're
And they
just
think
scaring them back.
beekeepers are crazy.
But it does help keep the swarm lower.
Let's see here. What's this about the board? No, I just seeded. I broadcast seed. Nancy, any pointers with the board? I'm planning on 1 foot flat where your plants in full sun. No, they weren't in full sun. Maybe 1 second, but I just broadcast the seed, and then what happens happens. But it did grow lateral more for me. It wants to grow out from under itself to the sun, so it wants to crawl across and then come up. And I have it reseeding itself out front. It's doing the same thing. It wants to crawl underneath itself. So, but I don't know, 1 foot grids. You should, I mean, should get nice for you, but that's a lot of work. I would just plant some bushes, some trees, something that's gonna stay. I plant a lot of maple. I get maples here by the hundreds, and I put them in pots for a year, and then I put them in the ground.
If you want to do some bushes, Russian sage, and they really love Russian sage. And
Yeah,
lavender, they like lavender, but I think they like sage better than lavender.
you need a lot of plants. Yeah. I don't know if you've
They need a
ever
lot of
heard. I
plants.
don't know where my book. Here's my book. I don't know if this was a local guy. that I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but this guy,
Yeah, buckwheat is really good to plant too. Couple acres of buckwheat. Let's
this
get that
Peter,
fall honey in there.
I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah,
But this book here
Peter.
will tell you exactly, it tells you all kinds, all kinds of pollen. It has a source for pollen and nectar. It has stars on, like, here, this is bluebird, cor Coreopteris. Um,
American holly is a good plant too to plant. Bush.
oh, I ordered five of those. So this here in the back tells you what to plant, when it's gonna bloom. I mean, and
Right,
this can be adapted to any, this can be adapted to any area, but how much to bloom, how much to plant per acre, per hives, like 3 to 6 bee colonies in a half an acre, a large garden, and then he has all the different trees and different American holly, black locust, little
right.
linden.
Yeah, those you got to wait 20 years though. Plant them and 15 years later you'll get some benefit out of them. I'm trying to get more fall plants, bushes, met for the fall time because we get a good goldenrod plant, good pollen off of goldenrod, but we get zero nectar because it's too dry. Once
Here's
we get
one
to August,
Mackie,
once we
a
get to
Mackie
August, the
tree.
faucet turns off till about October, and then it's too late.
Yeah, sunflower, thorny eleganus, elegnus. I don't know what that is. A Mackie, Maackia tree.
Okay, I don't know that one.
Sage. Yeah. But this guy here he was a local guy. He died now, but this is his book, and it's a well read book here.
That's something I
Helianthus
wanted.
maximilian. That's the sunflower that grows about 6 or 7 feet. Has tons of flowers on it. That'll come up year after year after year. You just need a little bit of seed for that one, and that'll come up. The bees love that. But all right, Tom, it's going on 9, and I've been up since 5. So
Ooh, yeah, you said you got up
yeah,
early.
yeah.
I know a tree that's not native here that grows really well in my area, and a lot of people have them. Is the Japanese lilac, and it seems like the
Oh,
bees love that tree too. The government, the community, townships and villages like planting that around along the roads around my area.
yeah, honeybee compound. I think we'd all prefer to plant, but you got Mother Nature that wants to deal different cards than what you are planning. So sometimes it works, and sometimes you have to supplement feed.
Yeah, I prefer perennial trees and bushes because you don't have to replant
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
And
for
you got
sure.
3 dimensional versus 2 dimensional flowers.
Hey, what do you guys know about uh, black gum? Is black gum and tupela the same thing?
Hold on.
I don't know. We got black locust. I don't know about black gum. Black gum.
Yeah, there's a tree in my yard that I think I identified as black gum, and I think I've seen that it's called black gum or tupelo. Now, I've heard tupelo honey is supposed to be really good. I think Bob Binney talks about it, but I'm wondering because he's down in Tennessee and I'm up here in Connecticut, and I'm like, is it the same tree?
Or the water
Let's see. I
tupelo
can
tree.
look it up. I can look it up for you. What are you asking now?
Black gum
Okay. Do
and
you
Yeah, I'm
have
and
looking. I'm looking up right now.
So that, do you have a better name? That sounds like a
Tu-
a
tr-
slang.
Yeah,
Tupela,
what it's called.
TOP.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
Now, I'm wondering about, is that a tree that I could possibly have? I I've tried to identify this tree I have, and it comes up when I look at it, is either tupela or black gum.
Some people
And
call it sour gum. Yeah, it's a native tree.
Tulip
Do that.
is the tulip poplar,
nope,
right? That's what,
different tree.
It's a
well, that's
different
what we, this,
tree.
yeah,
It's
that, well, then this
it's
book,
it's
mhm.
TUPELA.
Yeah, this doesn't have it. This book doesn't have it. So it might be,
So
what was the other name you said?
black
Gum, something gum?
black
Yeah,
gum.
this
No, so this has, the index here has the Latin and then like the slang, but the slang isn't alphabetical. Only the Latin is.
Oh,
Yeah, it's also called the black tupelo, black gum, sour
yeah,
gum,
yeah. Okay,
medium-sized tree in eastern North America.
okay.
I wonder what we're calling it up here. Sour. I'm looking.
I think we call it sour gum around here.
Yeah.
And
It
it's
You don't
yeah.
got the Latin for
creates.
it, do you? Do you have the
I don't.
Latin, Tom?
No idea.
I just
Yeah.
posted it.
Oh.
Now
Oh.
I
Oh.
I can't even pronounce it.
I can only look at 3 places at the same time.
It
So
creates a
N,
little berry.
here
Yeah, I
you go.
posted it.
Tupelo, sour gum, pepperidge tree. Yes, 130, 193, and 194. Here you go. Now I got that.
Okay.
193,
It's supposed to be a
190.
good landscaping tree.
The branches grow on
Oh,
this thing in all kinds of weird directions.
Oh, here you go. So the pollen source has 2 stars and the nectar source has 4 stars. And this
Ah,
is what they're
wow.
showing.
So it's a
yeah,
good
This
nectar
here.
source.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if
That's the picture
you
they're
want to plant some, figure out how to find those things.
Yeah.
origin North America, 50 to 80 feet high, habitat gardens, blah blah blah. Tupelo.
It's in people's landscaping.
Interesting. So I do woodworking, or at least I did, and it made excellent material for bowls. The wood
Oh.
does. And I looked it up. I guess back in the old days they used to use them for the the block and tackle in they use that wood. It's a very interesting looking wood, but um I'm wondering if that's part of what my special honey is that tree that I have.
So listen here, it says flowers, male and female on separate plants.
Ah,
So
interesting.
if you have 2 females, you're not gonna get nowhere.
Yep.
That's good. That's good Dutch right there, ain't?
Yeah.
Greenish white, very tiny, bloom 7 to 10 days. Honey made from Nissa salvatica is one of the finest.
There you
Wow.
go. Well, Bob Binney talks about it. And that's why I
Yeah.
was wondering, because he's in Tennessee and he talks about Tupelo honey.
Sour gum, tupela. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yep.
Pepperidge tree. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's all the same tree. So it's got
Okay.
a few different names.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, mine's growing wild in my yard, and I'm pretty sure that there's got to be some more in my neighborhood.
Well,
Right.
yeah, because we got to figure out if you have a male or a female, what you have going
Well,
on.
I had one tree that was getting too close to my house, and we cut that one down, which I'm like, damn. Oh yeah. Now now that I know. But that had berries on it.
Oh, there you go. There's your female.
The one that's in front right now, the branches are we've trimmed the branches so they're pretty high up now. I have to use binoculars
Yeah,
to see
good.
anything up there.
Is that a waxy leaf?
Yes,
Yeah.
very
Okay.
shiny, very shiny.
Shiny. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if it wasn't a tree, you would think it was poison ivy.
I have to take a look.
Oh,
I have to look. I gotta look for it. See if I got any in the neighborhood.
Well, they should be in your area. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't typically see this tree around. And um, I had one in my backyard, which was up against my deck. That's why we got rid of that one. And then the other one is right in the front of my yard. It's probably about 2 feet in diameter right now, and it's pretty tall.
That's a big old one.
Oh yeah, it's been around. They left some trees when they built these houses here, and I'm pretty sure they left that one.
Gotcha.
yeah, Pennsylvania, it says it's one of the finest honeys.
Yeah.
Tupelo.
Yeah.
One of the finest honeys, it says in my book. Finest.
Finest.
I
That's
can't
cool.
tell
All right,
people I'm
kids, I
getting.
gotta go.
Yep.
I
All
gotta
right,
go.
Nancy. Hey, by the way, Bob
right.
is on tonight.
Bob Benny?
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Bob
No,
Walker.
Walker.
Oh,
But
All
we still
right.
got 20,
I'll see
we
you
still
all
got
soon.
26. We got 26 people watching.
Yeah, stay on. Stay
busting
on.
down the doors. Huh?
I'm gonna stay on to
Um,
9:30.
yeah, there you
I'll be
go.
jumping off at 9:30. That's what I
Right.
did last week.
I'll see you. Oh, good night, Kimberly. I got
Good
some
night,
sheep
Kimberly.
support. So I always try to say, well, nobody's on tomorrow now. I don't think anybody's on Wednesday. Uh, and then there's a couple on Thursdays, and then Charlie's on Friday. So I don't have Philly this weekend. I just have Upper Marion. So I'll be on Charlie's a
Okay.
little bit on Friday. So all right, good night, guys.
And I
Good night.
See ya. Oh, I'm
See
just
ya.
gonna sign off.
I think, Kurt, I'm going in a week to 2 weeks. I'm going to pull all the honey, put a queen excluder back on, and put another medium super back on, and see if there's going to be a late flow or a fall flow.
yeah, this becomes probably my toughest time of the year because I usually get about half of my supers capped and half of them uncapped.
Yeah,
Personally, I'm not one of these that dehydrates my honey, my nectar down.
me either.
I let them cap it. And so then I leave it on there. I end up getting some more honey July, maybe around August, but around August I want to go back to 2 deeps. And that's what I should be doing. I flirted with that a little bit last year and I kind of bit myself in the butt. I lost a lot of hives in the fall because we did get a fall flow. I ended up chasing that. They didn't cap it until very late. And
Right,
then I was late with my mite treatment. And I think that's probably what killed a lot of my hives is I was too late with my mite treatment.
right.
And
You know,
so I'm good.
yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
don't.
try to.
I last 4 years I've been cutting back on my treatment, and this year I'm not treating at all
Oh wow. Yeah,
because like every one of my hives now, last 2.5 years, every hive has at least one drone combed frame in it. So I have a lot of drones, and I I'm last year I'm starting or this year I'm going to do it even more. Next year is that when somebody buys a nuke from me, they're getting a comb frame from me that's going to be triple, quadruple wax because if you have to really, really wax them to get them to draw those frames out, and tell them to put it in the third position on every hive. So I've been filling my neighborhood up with drones because everybody I sell a nuke to, I tell them to get a drone frame and wax the heck out of it.
Hmm.
And I show them what it is.
So when I started making my own queens, I bought those drone frames because, unlike everybody else, I didn't want to kill my drones. I wanted to produce drones,
Right.
and I couldn't get those damn bees to draw out. But I didn't do anything. I didn't, like you said. I think you need to triple wax it or something.
You could quadruple wax them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's the funny thing. My nuke that's now in double deeps. I had one frame that had no foundation, and they drew that out with large cells because they were going to put honey in it. And
Yeah.
when I transferred it, I put it in the middle of the brood, and they put drones in it.
Right.
And so now I have a drone frame because it's just a natural drone frame. But I'm like,
Right.
it's a slab of drones, and
And
they'll probably hatch out in the next couple weeks.
and that's another trick you can do. You can put your drone frame in the honey super
Yes, because
and
they'll make large cells out of it.
it'll
Yep.
make large cell honey, and then you can transfer it down into your brood the next year.
Yep. Well, I did it by accident and it worked.
Yeah, it works. Yep. That's how I got mine done. Same plus I put the wax on it so really heavy. I
Yeah.
took a bar and just rubbed it on there.
Yeah, I gave up on the drone frames myself, but I just let them produce enough on their own. But
Well, that and I do starter strips. They make drone frames.
okay. Yep. I'm amazed. I always use foundation, but I'm amazed when I every once in a while I'll throw a frame in there that I've popped out the foundation because it was nasty and I just put it in there as a filler, and they just
Right.
build the damn thing out all by themselves. I'm like, I don't know why I'm using foundation, but
Well, you need to have you need to have a comb frame. If you put a whole bunch of frames in there, some
oh
will be
yeah,
wide, some will be skinny. So
you're right.
having comb frames in between helps.
Yes, yeah, you have to have drawn out comb, and I kind of forget that now that I've been doing this enough for long enough, I have a lot of drawn comb. Um,
Yeah.
I do remember those days when you couldn't get enough of it.
Right. And the old days is they used to use them and freeze them so you kill all the mites. It's like, oh no, you're just killing yourself to have more mites.
Yeah, I don't. I was just having this conversation with one of the guys that was helping me, and I'm not buying that theory about you're breeding mites when you're making drones. I you
No, I
know
don't. I
they they they're on for what, 3 more days in the cells or
right.
something like that. It's not that much longer, and I'm not sure the bees are that or the mites are that smart. Um,
And they've done studies now. There's been enough studies in there that hives, queens that are bred properly don't have mites in their hives because they have enough genetics. There's enough worker bees with mite resistant genetics in them.
yeah, and here's another. I'll call it a theory. One is, are the bees able to keep the mites out? But the other side is, are the bees capable of tolerating the mites?
Right.
Um, I think there's probably a lot more to that you have mites or bees that are dealing better with the diseases that the mites have. They deal with the mites better. It's not that they're keeping the mite levels low. And the reason I'm saying that, this huge hive I have, um, when I treated it last fall, it had a pretty high mite drop. Um, and what I do is I'll do um, late summer, early fall formic, and then what I'll do is I'll hit them in the winter time. Because I tell people, I said we will get a day or two in the 60s in December, and even in January. It happens. And
And February.
if you follow the weather even around the country, almost everybody gets that. And you need to pay attention to your weather, hit them with OAV at that point. And what you're doing is you're kind of knocking down, any of the residual mites that are in there, so that your mite counts are really, really low when you go into spring.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that we ever can have 0 mites in a hive, but the lower the mite counts, the better off your bees are going to be.
You know, something funny, Kurt. I'm an electrical engineer and I study a lot of everything I do. And I studied the mite reproductive cycle. I read some books and articles on it 5 or 6 years ago. Probably more than most of the scientists that test for it, because
Ugh.
they don't read that kind of stuff. And mites, the reason why springtime people get 0 and 1 mite test, there aren't mites in your hive because the female mite cannot reproduce in the spring and summertime. When it's 90 degrees out, 95 degrees out, and humidity 70%, female mites cannot reproduce. They need dry air to reproduce and lower temperatures. That's why we have mite bombs,
Yep.
because in the fall time it gets dry and it gets cooler, and that's when the mites can reproduce.
Interesting.
It's like that's why people we have mite bombs. So I started
Yep.
the process. Well, I wouldn't even treat me anymore. And since all my queens, I don't buy queens. All my queens I graft. And I
Yeah,
graft from my hives that survive every winter
yep.
without treatment.
I would prefer to do that. The problem I'm having is my splits I do in the spring. I just
Sure.
can't create queens that early.
I'm this is probably next year will be my 5th year where I've been selective my overwinter hives, best hives to 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 graft from.
Now, are
So
you splitting your own hives to maintain your apiary, or are you buying nukes and packages or anything?
I know I graft.
No, I'm
I do
talking
stuff.
about you're keeping your population of your hives. Is that all from your own stock?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
So you're whether you're doing this as a business or not, you're doing it the right way. Yeah.
I did buy 5 nukes down in Tennessee, Corey Stevens VHS
Yep.
queens
Well, you're
to,
trying to
to add to my genetics.
that's wise too. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with buying, but it's I this hobby is expensive. And
Yeah.
the more that you can be self-sufficient with your expenses helps a lot. Especially if you're not tapping into your family money to maintain this hobby. And I have a confession that I'm a professional hobbyist. I've had all kinds of hobbies, and every one of them has cost me a bunch of money. I was into RC planes, fishing,
Right.
woodworking. I don't make any money doing these things,
Right.
and
I
boating too. So
I make money now. That's why I'm a little concerned about the honey production this year.
yeah. Nope, it is funny. It's like your hobby starts getting serious when you're counting on the money. And yeah,
And
I've
and
been
my cost has
profitable.
gone way down since I don't have to buy chemicals.
Yeah, yeah, true. Yep. I mean, I buy Formic Pro. Um, the thing about oxalic acid is like you buy it one. Well, at my
Yeah,
level,
that last.
you buy one
Yeah, that's
package, and
cheap.
that's a lifetime supply. The expensive
Yeah,
parts the vaporizer.
yeah.
So here's a funny confession. I hope I don't get in trouble with this, but when this when this might, so I started beekeeping in 2018, and the mite thing, I guess, was really becoming a tough thing for people. And a
Yeah.
bunch of the YouTubers were using bug foggers with oxalic acid. Did you
Yes.
remember seeing any of that?
Yes.
Hey, you know
Yep.
what? I'm like, if this is going to keep my bees alive, I'm doing this. And
Right. Right.
what a contraption that was.
5 years ago, Kurt, I was using Formic Pro, and I don't use it when it's hot out. I wait till it gets
No.
down to at least low 80s. Well,
Yep.
this was the end of August to the first couple days of September, and the forecast was for 4 days of 80 to 83, and then finally on the fifth day it was supposed to go up to like the 88, 89. So the first day it was only like 80 degrees out. I put the Formic Pro on. Next day it got up to 95. Next day
Oh,
it got up to
jeez.
98. I killed I killed all my hives. Every
Oh,
one of them.
wow. Yep.
Almost all of them.
And that's the story you hear over and over again.
Yeah. And
It's too bad because I've been using it.
forecasters were wrong. It only lasted
Yeah.
like one day. And it just didn't get warm. It got hot, hot. Got up in
Yep.
the mid upper 90s. And I tried on the third day, I took the strips off of it. It was too late. It
Yeah,
was
it was.
done deal.
Yeah, your first day in
And I
90s
told
killed them.
myself that was the start of it. I said, I'm done with chemicals. And I just
Okay.
did oxalic acid vapor every month. And then I got to a point where I was only doing it in July, December, and January. And last year I only did it in December and January. And now I'm not doing it at all. I
Interesting.
know Bob's on, Clay. But Bob dropped us for over a year. And I took over. And now I got Nancy as a team member, Nancy and I. And now Bob wants to get back on Tuesdays.
Hmm.
Well, I'm not, I mean, he should join me and Tim Nancy, three of us. He's more than welcome to join us on a new Tuesday night time. So I wouldn't have done this if Bob did drop Tuesday nights. And I said, I can do lives. So I started doing lives, and then I got Nancy involved last couple of weeks because I needed somebody to talk to. But Kurt got on, so that's good. So
Didn't want to
yeah,
leave you
I know
hanging.
Bob's on. I checked earlier, and Bob got on. He had 40 people, and I had 36 at the time. Now I'm down to 22. I don't know what Bob has. Let me check. Give me a second. Bob has 64. He's got the Canadians on. I have not got the Canadians on. And I don't even think they know I do a live on Tuesdays. So, well, Clay, I hope everything's going good. Yeah, 62. I'm down to 22. That's because Nancy got off. I'll try to get Sarah to come on. Oh, I need to unhide this comment. It's been up there for a long time. So yeah, pretty hot today. We got up to 75. That's a good hot day for us. I've actually only gone in the swimming pool. Today I got into it. The water was 77, 78 degrees. And I got into it 2 weeks ago and the water was 78 degrees. So tomorrow it's supposed to go like 82, and then I think Thursday it's supposed to go up to 86. But then rain's coming Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Back cooler again. And I haven't looked any farther than that because when I saw rain, I go, God, 4 days of sun, or 3.5 days, and then rain again.
So apparently the thing in our area is, I think it's 12 straight Saturdays we've had rain.
Thanks, Bud Bundy. Yeah, yeah. We get rain. We get rains for 3 to 5 days, and then we get a sunny day, or a cloudy day, then a sunny day. So we get 2 days without rain, and then we get 3 to 5 days of rain. That's what's been going on since February.
Yeah. Did you get any of that Canadian smoke?
Yeah, we've gotten some of that, but it's been cloudy. So I think one day I could see it. We were supposed to be sunny and it was hazy.
Yeah, it was crazy here one day that, like you said, it was supposed to be sunny and it was really weird looking out.
But it's supposed to be smoky right now. But well, I didn't see it today. I think it's supposed to come tonight. I might see it tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
It gets pretty thin far south I am. In fact, I was going to ask you earlier. My area is 6B for the growing. So what's your
Um,
area?
I think I'm around there.
Okay.
I'd have to look it up on a chart, but I think I am around there.
Yeah, my area is supposed to be 6B.
Because I know, well, if you can compare like I said, my daughter's in the Columbus area. She's a little south of Columbus. And
Okay.
where is it? North of? Oh, it's west of Columbus. Okay, my wife knows better. West of Columbus. And
Okay. It's between
her,
Columbus and Dayton.
yeah. Well, Hilliard. You ever heard of Hilliard?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
She's in that area, and her weather is literally a day ahead of us. So I guess most of our weather is coming from the west.
Yeah. Dayton's about 5 degrees and Columbus is about 7 or 8 degrees colder than I am. So
Okay,
she's
she's a
probably
little.
6 or 7 degrees, somewhere in
She's a.
between.
She's slightly warmer than us.
Okay. There's Cincinnati on the west side of Cincinnati. There's Appalachian Mountains that cut through northern Kentucky, goes into southeast Indiana, and then backs up into the west side of Cincinnati, but only the west side of Cincinnati.
Yeah,
So
because it's flat. It's flat where she is.
once you get to the east side and to the north side of Cincinnati, it's flat.
Yep.
And so I have a totally different microclimate. Plus, I'm only a mile and a half from the Ohio River and another 3/4 of a mile to a mile from the Great Miami River. And that has a huge effect on my weather. There's
Yep.
two big rivers. And it's kind of weird.
Yeah, we
In the
have
fall,
the.
we get tons of fog that comes up from the river, up to the
Yep.
river valley, my backyard. So
Yeah, we
yeah,
have
my goal
the.
now is I'm trying to find fall to winter nectar flowering plants. I've get Esther I have and that works. Goldenrod, we get we get goldenrod flow about once every 10 years.
How about knotweed? Do you guys have that?
Yeah, we have knotweed
We
and
have a lot of
ragweed.
that.
Yeah, I've got a lot of that too.
That's a good part of our flow here, and the goldenrod. Asters, we get some asters.
We don't get our goldenrod only it gets too dry. Our
Interesting.
usually right around 1st of August, the faucet turns off until October.
Okay. We
And
get
it's
when we get a goldenrod, you think there's something wrong with your hive. It the way people describe it, it smells like smelly socks.
yeah,
You walk into the apiary and you're going, oh my God, is this what foul brood smells like?
yeah,
And
yeah,
it gets a lot of people, especially the newer beekeepers, after a couple years and getting used to smelling that, I'm like, okay, here it comes again. But my
right,
first year, I'm going, oh my God, is this foul brood? You're going in your
right.
hives, you're looking for signs,
I
and then
wish I had that smell because
yeah,
at least they're getting some nectar in.
No, it's a sign you got a flow going.
Right? Maybe this year, it's since we're getting rainy so now, maybe the rain will keep on going, and I'll get a
Yeah,
fall flow.
yeah.
It's
One of the
kind of
things
tough
that
luck. We get these thunderstorms about once every 2 weeks, but there's only like a 20% chance, 25% chance, and sometimes you go to 6, 8 weeks and you miss all the thunderstorms, and it
mhm,
just dries everything up. And you pray for a thunderstorm that might be severe, but that's how you get the only rain we get
yep.
in the late summer.
Yeah, our state's pretty small, but we've had years where the eastern part of the state had drought, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I get rain every other day, and everything's
Yeah.
fine. And it's amazing just over small distances how your weather can be different.
Last year we had an extreme severe drought. It went from extreme severe.
Yep.
It stopped in like 4th of July and it didn't rain until November.
Yeah. No, I didn't get that. I know my daughter kept talking about it. We didn't have the drought last year. A couple years ago I had it, and that was it's funny how everything stacks up. That year I had about 20 hives in my backyard. You have a dearth and the bees are in everything. And now I'm concerned about, is this going to bother my neighbors? I still had a swimming pool in my backyard. And if people are familiar with this, I know people say, oh, the bees won't bother your swimming pool. Well, I had a swimming pool and I emptied my skimmer every day full of bees. um,
Yeah,
the bees love chlorine.
yeah, they do.
And I was the only one in the family that would go in the pool, because the bees didn't bother me. But yeah, it's bees and swimming pools are not a good thing.
Nah, I have a little swimming pool and there's always bees in it. Doesn't bother me any.
I see the comment here. Someone thought that someone died in their hive. That must have been the goldenrod.
Yeah. I've had a couple times in the fall, like just for 1 or 2 days, where it's smells like cotton, not cotton candy. Oh shoot, peppermint, not peppermint. Scott's got it. Oh yeah, but it's only for a day, like a day, 2 days. I don't know if that's Esther or whatever's blooming.
Yeah, I don't know. I told you earlier, I said having the peppermint underneath my hives, it's always refreshing when you step on it.
Right, right. I think that's good against mites too, or small hive beetles. I mean,
Small, I heard
butterscotch.
small. Yeah, I heard it
Butterscotch,
was.
that's it, Kimberly.
Oh,
Once, twice in my life of beekeeping, I've smelled butterscotch for a day or two.
that's a nice smell.
Yeah, that's a good smell. I guess that's Esther's blooming.
Okay.
That's usually in the fall, big time.
Hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't think of butterscotch. I was brain dead on that one. Yeah, I have mint I grow in my garden because it's good to keeps bugs away too.
Yeah, well, that's where it started, and people they talk about putting the peppermints in your hive and all that. And
Right.
I had it growing, and I'm like, all you gotta do is throw the stuff on the ground and throw dirt on it, and it grows. And so I started doing that, and I forgot I had grown it, and then all of a sudden I'm walking around, and I'm like, "What's that smell?" I realized I was like, "Oh yeah, that's
You're
the
squishing
mint,
the
the
leaves.
the mint that I was growing."
Fred and Dunham had beesies on a streak. Okay. Yeah, I have both Esters and Goldenrod. I want to. I have a leach bed that's 100 yards long and about 50 yards wide, and I want to plant buckwheat in it because that's drought tolerant. And if I plant it like in July, we'll get a couple storms to get it started and growing, and I'll get at least a nectar flow in the fall time.
I've heard
And
mixed things about. Well, you're gonna not harvest the buckwheat, honey?
no, I'd leave it on for them.
Okay, because I've heard mixed things about the taste of buckwheat.
I like buckwheat honey.
Okay, yeah.
In fact,
See,
I'm eating some right now.
are you?
I got a bottle of it. That's what I take a teaspoon before I go to bed
Okay.
every day.
Yeah,
And
I'm not
I'm
sure.
doing
I know one of the farms around here, our area. If they're farms, they're small farms. But one of the guy was doing it for, I think, for erosion or something like that. He wasn't going to plant something, so he put buckwheat there.
right. I was just going to plant it just to backfill the hives,
Hmm.
so I don't have to feed them so much. I
There you go.
wanted right now. I'm not treating for mites anymore, and I want to be at a point where I don't have to feed them.
Yeah.
Make enough honey, queens that make enough honey to that can leave 60 pounds on them, 30,
Hmm.
50 pounds on them. Six or
Yeah.
seven frames of deep of honey on them.
Okay. Yeah, I found the
And
the the two deeps ended up being a good combination for me going into winter. I
yeah,
I tried single deeps because I watched these guys doing it. What's his name, Ian up in Canada and stuff, and the winter that I did that, our winters aren't cold enough. We we get
right,
too many warm spells where they're consuming their honey. At least that's what I believe, and they starve out. And and I tried a deep with a medium on it. But the problem that I have with that is now I have brood in my honey supers, which it really
oh,
doesn't bother me, but I can't make splits with my mediums. I want to make deep splits. So
right.
that's
I
why I
run I run single brood management in the honey flow, but then I go into
yeah,
double deeps for fall and winter time.
yep,
But
that's
this is
that's
my
exactly
last
what I'm
year
doing.
doing single brood management. I'm going back to just having two deeps and then a
Are you?
queen exploiter. It's too much work, and I'm not young.
No, no, I get it. I
Running
get
30,
it.
40 hives.
What
I
I what
do
I
you,
did find though, and I didn't like, is if I was trying to do an inspection or finding a queen, I had to go through two deeps to find the queen.
yeah,
That I didn't like.
that part I don't like. That's why I like single brood management because
Right.
it's you only got one box to look for, and there's only like four frames you got to look for.
Yep. And I split my hives hard so that once the flow starts, I don't have to go into the deep.
Right, right. See, I don't split my hives at all until now.
Okay.
I I let them go. So I want them as big as I can get them for the flow.
So I'll give you my theory on that because I was thinking about that. The um I mean I had pretty full hives, double deeps, and when I split them, I took brood frames. So those weren't foraging bees that I took away.
Right.
I took nurse bees away. And I still had some brood in there, not a lot, but I took most of my brood away from my splits, but I still had a strong workforce to go after
For
the early
for a few
honey.
weeks, for a
Yeah, for a
couple
few,
weeks.
right. And then by then, the queen has started laying out again. There's a little bit of lag before you're getting new bees, but
New foragers.
but
Right.
they recovered pretty quick. And
Yeah.
you know, that
They
strong
do.
hive that strong hive I have is really doing well. Now, right next to it, I did the same thing. The hive wasn't as strong, and that hive struggled. I
Right.
probably cut it back too much.
Right.
But you know what? It's probably not going to swarm.
Well, I replace my queens every year, and new queens typically don't swarm.
No, nope. And I'm trying to figure out. So the two hives that I took all my stuff from, those were my 2024 queens.
Okay.
I'm thinking that by
Uh,
the end of the summer, I should be swapping those out. And maybe what I'll do is I'll start a couple nukes and then just drop some nukes in there with the new queen in there. In other words, get rid of the queen. Because, and this is for anybody listening, um, trying to introduce a new queen late in the season, they don't accept them. That was a personal
is-
experience and a hard learning experience that I had that um, later in the season, getting your queens accepted is much harder unless you put her in there with some
for
brood.
bees,
Yeah,
yeah.
you got to have the nurse bees around them.
What,
And
what
I
what I what I do, I don't count queens by years. I count my queens per by flow because
oh
all my queens the following year are previous year queens. But I graft now, so when the time they emerge to get mated, the flow's over.
yep,
So when they go into spring the following year, they're a zero flow queen.
okay,
Because
yeah,
once
that makes sense.
once they're a one flow queen, they will swarm the next flow. Most likely, unless you do a lot of splitting and brood management.
And are you calling the next flow essentially the next season?
The next season, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Because at that point they want to replace her, and yeah,
Well, yeah, she's still a good layer. Second year, actually, they say the second year they're a better layer than the first year.
yeah. But by the end of the season, you may be having a dying hive. It
Yeah,
it,
by the
it
end of the
depends.
season,
You
third
you
year
can.
they drop off a lot.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've gotten 3 years out of a queen, but at the same time, it just didn't perform it that last year.
I had one last three years, and the fourth year it was a dud.
Yeah.
It was
Yep.
done.
Yep. But by the time you do that, you kind of destroy the hive at the same time.
I just did it for grafting. I
Oh,
kept her
well, there you
around
go.
to graft off of her.
Yeah, she was the survivor, right?
And after the fourth year, I couldn't even. She was hardly produce enough to graft off them.
Oh
That's how
wow.
much she dropped down. Yeah.
Yep. Now, when you're
So
grafting, what are you using for a tool? Are you Chinese grafting
I
tool,
use the
German?
Chinese.
Yep.
I like the. I have the German. I use both the German and the Chinese, but I do the Chinese better. I like pulling the. I like getting when you use the German tool, you don't get royal jelly. You just get the larvae,
Oh,
or
I guess you
much
would have to.
just that. When you use the Japanese tool, you get most a lot of the royal jelly too.
Yeah, you get everything. Yep.
You get
The
everything or
the
most of it.
trick the trick that I learned, and I've learned it through YouTube, whether it was Cayman or someone, but it was standing down that little reed,
A little
and
bit, yeah,
I keep a little jar of warm water next to me, and I'll just drop like 6 tools in there.
yeah. Well,
It's funny,
I just eat it. I just eat it.
but you got to keep that thing soft, right?
Moist, yes,
Yeah, and it didn't make any sense to me at first. And then when I tried it, I'm like, wow, this thing just picks them right up.
yeah. And it's easier to graft the back part of the C versus the two ends of the C of the larvae.
Yeah,
You
I
always
I
attack from the back side.
I never paid attention to that, and that makes a lot of sense. I'm not grafting this year, but yeah, that's a
So
good idea. And the other
and
thing
Rick's posted a couple times. Swarm cells are probably the best, and emergency cells can be good and it can be bad. It all depends on what they grab for the emergency cell. If they grabbed
yeah,
a 4 hour or 2 hour old larvae, it's going to be as good as a swarm cell.
Well,
But if they grab a 12 hour to a 2 day old larvae, yeah, it's going to be a bad queen.
yeah, are they creating an emergency cell because the hive's dying, or they want a superseder? You
Yeah.
know, if you have
Well,
a strong hive, I can see where that would probably be a good queen. But if you're a hive that's on its last straw, I'm like, you may not be getting a good queen out of that.
yeah, supersedure queens are good. Probably just as good as a swarm because
Yeah,
they're picking that cell.
but
It's
that's
just yeah, emergency
a
one's
s-
a pot luck.
yeah. I've seen some pretty ugly looking cells on a hive that was really desperate.
Yeah. Like and actually the funny thing about it, typically when I graft, I'll graft into the same hive that the queen came from. So it's her bees that I'm grafting, put my graft frame into.
Oh, interesting.
They were make better cells when it's the same genetics, her genetics.
So, are you doing a queen right starter then?
I take a double D hive and I take the queen out and put her in with two frames of her open brood and a food frame, and I put her into a nuke.
Oh, so you take her out.
And then I take all the bees from the double deep and put them all down into a single. And I might shake in one or two, but 9 out of 10 times, there's enough bees in that bottom box now because I just combined 1.5 to 1 2/3 bees into one box.
Okay.
Then, then on the 2 days after I do that, I go back into the queen that's in that nuke and I put a black foundation semi-dark comb and put it right in between her two open brood frames, and
Oh, so
she'll
you're
jump
getting
on
your
that frame within an hour, two hours to lay on
that's
it,
where you're getting your grafting material.
and then 4 days later I pull that frame out and I graft,
Okay. All right.
and then I take that and put it back into that 10 framer that she came from, and man, that makes big queens,
Yeah.
big virgins.
You know, it's surprising how. So I'm literally just pulling a frame out of what I think is my best queen.
I used
And
to do that.
yeah, and it's amazing though how many cells you can graft by a small patch. Um,
Yes.
you don't need a
Well,
whole big thing to fill a bar full of grafts.
but when I'm do this on my frame that I pour after 4 days, the center about that big is my larvae.
Oh,
Everything out here is still egg.
yep,
So I know that larvae I'm grafting is less than 12 hours old.
yeah, because I'm hunting when I do it.
Yeah, it
No,
makes it
it's
easy.
fun. Now, I'm a backyard guy. I'm doing this small scale, but it is so rewarding to get, 5, 7 of your own queens.
Right.
Um,
Well,
eh,
I just told you a secret that people don't talk about too often to getting better grafted queens.
about using the hive the queen came from.
Yes,
That's
as
interesting.
your
Yeah, it
cell
is.
builder.
Yep, that's interesting. Yeah, usually because,
Next week, maybe that's what my subject will be.
yep. The only, I'll say the problem I have with that is I'm creating my cell builder purposely, and
Yeah,
the queen that I'm getting the grafting material from is a different hive.
I used to do
That's
the same thing, Kurt, until a couple of years ago, and I go, man, these queens are better queens. They're
yeah.
bigger.
No, it
They're
makes
bigger
sense.
cells. They're bigger. I asked a friend of mine a couple of years ago. He's a second year beekeeper. He goes, "Oh yeah, you always got to graft from the same hive. You won't. You'll get superior queens." And he's
Interesting.
right. He was right.
Yep. Yep.
You get as good as swarm queens.
I was just going to say, right now, my best hive is from a swarm cell.
Yeah. Well, I just cut 19 of them out.
I love that. So I'll give you the quick
I might not
story.
be grafting, and that came from my VHS queen that I
Oh,
told you I
wow.
bought the 5. So I
Is
know
that the
it's good
queen?
genetics.
Is that the queen you can't find now, though?
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yep.
lost her.
Yeah, that part stinks.
Well, I got it.
So,
I got 19 of her daughters, or 18. 18 one or two cells might not come out because I cut them out.
so
But I'll get a bunch.
my second year of beekeeping, I started selling my nukes. My second year.
Yeah,
One of the guys I sold 2 nukes to, um, and I coached this guy through overwintering. So he overwintered his hives. What I told him not to do, though, but he did it anyways, is he filled that thing full of pollen patties and fed it like crazy in the springtime. And he gives me a call up and he's like, I can't find my queens. I don't know what's going on. He goes, and I think they're getting ready to swarm. Now, I'm a third year beekeeper and I've overwintered hives, but they all come out kind of weak or whatever. They weren't great. I go over this
right.
guy's house. He's got two hives that are 3 deeps. Bees are boiling out of this thing, and almost every frame we're pulling out of there is full of queen cells. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I was intimidated by this hive. I'm like, I've never seen a hive this big. But I
There's,
told him, I said, I just made a whole bunch of nuke boxes. And the guy bought every one I had, and we stuck those frames in there, and he made a whole bunch more nukes. And
yeah,
yeah,
right.
that's a quick way to grow your apiary.
Well, I right now I made eight splits off that hive, and now I gotta go into. I made two more. Actually, I made 10 now. I made two more today because overnight two of them merged out, and I put them. I had to go into another hive to get some open brood and some brood nurse bees for her, and I just
Yeah,
walked her right in.
I told you that story at the beginning. I found out the hard way. You need that open brew to keep the bees.
Right. Well, I have 7 resource hives that I keep just to make splits, just to help my honey production hives, I call them.
Hmm.
And some of them are swarms that I catch during the year. Some of them are extra queens that when I'm grafting, I throw in. It's whatever pot luck there is. And
Yep.
they
No,
all
it's
have
been
a drone. They all
it's
have a drone frame too.
yeah. No, it's cool when your apiary gets growing and all that. Like I said, I think the most I've gotten up to is around 20 hives, and at that time I was working full time too, so that got a little crazy.
Yeah.
But
I got up last year. I got up to 35 working full time, and that was too much.
yep, yep,
Now I'm
that's a lot.
retired,
Good for you. Good.
but I'm keeping. Well, I keep 16 production hives. I keep at least. Well, actually, I keep two other hives that are. I keep 21 production hives. I keep two hives that are production hives slash resource hives. They're Apiary hives, and they make good resource hives. And then I have 7 resource hives. So that gets me up to like 30 hives. But then right now I have 12 other 6 over 6 boxes that I'll be making splits from. I usually graft, but I might just be doing swarm cells this year.
Mm,
And then I overwinter those to replace my hives and to make nukes. And I just take I take her 3 or 4 frames, take the other frames out of my honey hives, take the queen out. I sell her as a nuke, take the queen out. I take my new queen, I just stick her right in the middle with 4
mm-hmm.
frames
Yep.
and 5.
Nice. No,
And I'm
it's
often,
nice when you have resource hives and stuff, and it
yeah,
kills me that um people throw away these nuke boxes when they
I
buy
know.
nukes,
I
and I'm
tell them,
like,
keep them, you'll use them.
yeah. And some people do, some don't.
Right.
I've had people give me, the Jester nuke boxes because
Yeah.
they don't want clutter around their houses or yards, and I'm going, oh my god, these things are so useful though. And
Yeah.
I, even when I'm doing a hive inspection, if I find the queen, I just take that frame, I drop her in there, and then I can shake bees and do whatever it is I want to do, but I don't have to worry about what's going to happen to the queen. And then after I'm done, I can put her back in there and do whatever. Little trick I learned
Right.
though is don't put that frame up against the side of the box, because all of your bees will now end up on the side of your box. I keep that
Yeah. Yeah.
keep the frame in the middle. I know that's a small hint for people or a little tip, but all of a sudden now you got a queen running around in a box,
Right.
and they're not easy to catch when they're running around in there.
Right.
Yeah, if you keep
I
the
had a
frame
customer.
good.
Yeah. I had a customer this year. He said he had a couple of hives like when he was a kid, long time ago. He's about 10 years younger than me. I guess he's in his 50s and mid 50s, my guess. And he bought one of my nukes, and he called me up like 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, and he goes, Tom, I can't find the queen. I don't have any eggs in the cell, but I got these cells. And I said, well, how many frames of brood is there? And he goes, well, there's 3 bricks. Like I see in the pictures, solid brood. And I said, well, they probably killed the queen or something like that. And I said, just let those queen cells emerge out and see if you get a mated queen. Well, just 2 weeks ago, a week ago, he called me back up and says, great, I got the queen got mated. And I said, Ken, I said, when you told me you checked them 2 weeks before that, I said, you probably killed her. So he
Oh,
goes, yeah, I kind of figured that out now.
yeah.
I said, you got to be really careful that when you see that queen, that she's in the middle of the frame when you put that frame back in. She's
Yes.
on the end of the frame. Do not put it in.
Nope. Nope.
And he goes, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm 99. If he had 3 brick frames, and I knew it came from my queen, um, he killed it.
Yeah, that's too bad.
But luckily, they made a new queen.
Yeah, but that sends the hive backwards so much. The time to get a new queen mated and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah. He goes, I guess I'm not going to get any honey at all. I said, no. I
Don't
said,
count
feed
on
them.
it.
I
Yep.
said, feed to get them through winter. Because he
Yeah.
just now got the queen laying a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that hive's it's probably down to a package bees now. Because
Yeah.
he went through a month with no brood, no new brood. So it's going to shrink until another 2 more weeks. There's not going to be foragers flying on out. They're all dead.
The
So
one
hey,
the one oh, go ahead.
I'm going to shut this down here real soon.
Yeah, it's getting late.
3 hours almost.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, it is, isn't it? It starts 7, right? Yeah.
I started at 7.
I know it took me about a half hour to get on.
Yeah. So I'm going to end it now.
All right. Great talking to you.
Thanks, Kurt, for getting on.
Yep. Thanks for
And
having
good
me.
night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
See everybody on the other streams and next Tuesday.
Okay.
Bye.